A very good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world. It is the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club, and it's the start of the second half of Term 2, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to have you along for the ride. Night 1 of Week 6, if you can believe that, as we make our way to Laguna Seca on the west coast of America, down there in Monterey, for the 6th round of Waste Options GT4. And then, of course, we will make our way to the Hockenheim Ring in Germany for sprint racing in GT3. Good evening to Liam Banks and also to Adam Lavis. Zach Caben in the central commentary position here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to have you along for the ride. Hope you'll enjoy it as much as we'll enjoy bringing it to you. An enormous month of motorsport. Of course, we're all excited on the back of the NASCAR All-Star race this morning for the Big Three next Monday morning. Of course, the Monaco Formula One Grand Prix last thing Sunday night, Indianapolis, and then the Coca-Cola 600 next Monday morning. But we're going to squeeze in some sim racing in the meantime. This is, of course, the Laguna Seca circuit for you. 3.57 kilometres. We are looking at a 24-degree track temperature at the moment and about 19 the ambient. We're at 5:45 in the afternoon, which is just beautiful. Of course, this time of year over there, they're observing daylight saving. They're edging closer to summer. I don't need to say any more, do I? You can start ticking your bingo card boxes off already. Of course, we have an enormous field here tonight for this 6th round of the championship, and this is how the picture looks at the halfway mark. At the change of ends, you would say, in footy terms. It is Nick Wood on top from Jared Knight and Jordan Malcolm. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. Look at the margin. 19 points covers first and third. Nick Wood, of course, hasn't yet won a round. Jared Knight has managed to win 1 of them. Jordan Malcolm has managed to win 2. Sam Muir is there in 4th place. Michael Hammond is 5th. Alan Dawson, Neville Mell, Dale Sharp, Josh Maynard and Jeff Adams make up the top 10. So now all 5 manufacturers are represented in the top 10 through the BMW of Sharp and the McLaren of Adams. And 123 points covers 1st through 10th. Grid for tonight. I'm going to have to race through this one, ladies and gentlemen, because there's 1,000 of them. Jordan Malcolm and the returning Luke Turner on the front row. Sam Chapman, Sam Muir, and all Sam's 2nd row. Gary Cousins, Nick Wood, 3rd row. Jared Knight, Clint Collard, 4th row. Richard King, Michael Hammond, 5th row. Paul Wood, Warwick Sharp from 6. Fodiatis and Alan Dawson from 7. Dale Sharp and Trent Allen from 8. Jeff Adams and Sean Rees from 9. Dane Snadman, Joe Baldwin from 10. David Christensen and Josh Zuno from 11. Josh Millard, Wayne Edwards, 12. Then Josh Robertson and Luke Hay from 13. Dale Jeffries and Aaron Major, 14. Pete Matson and John Simpson, 15. And a big thanks to Waste Options for their ongoing support of this championship. Greg Padgett from 16, Mitch McIntyre 17. Alongside Greg Padgett, I should say. Robert McGrath and Stephen Brooks on 17. Ben Woods and Ben Hutchinson 18. 19, Gregory Parker and Eduardo Zamora from row 20. It's Adam Johnson and Phil King. From 21, it's Brendan Soper and Scott Craig. We have a full field of 42 lining up. How treacherous these opening couple of laps going to be. Liam Banks, good evening to you. We're ready to rock and roll here. Such a huge crowd in the house tonight. Let's hope that crowd sticks around and has a crack at Waste Options GT3 in both the Pro and the AM split at Hockenheim, but Laguna Seca are always a favourite.
Yeah, good evening, Zach. Good evening, everybody listening. 42 cars at Laguna Seca. And we have to say that huge turnout is just down to this track. It is one of the most notorious tracks on the service, one of the most notorious tracks in real life, and it's all because of one corner, the corkscrew. It's going to be wonderful to see these cars go through the corkscrew. 40 cars trying to go through there in lap 1. I dare say there's going to be a few that don't make it.
And fingers crossed, the PC
Hello,
holds
Adam
up
Lavis.
all these cars.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. We have got our fingers crossed that the PC can handle the heavy load that is about to be put under the pressure, the strain.
Ever since this season's update, there's been something going on where to choose, once you get too many cars, computers have trouble with it. So far, so good. Fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Of course, it is Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport, and it's all made possible with thanks to them. Blackout Electrical Solutions, Login Systems, West Orange Motors, Astute Finance, Fisher and Door Lawyers, and Flash Graphics. Monday Night Motorsport. Night 1 of week 6 of term 2 of 2023. Let's get it on at Laguna Seca. Beautiful start. Jordan Malcolm. Pass away from pole position. Sam Chapman and Luke Turner already exchanging places. And down there on the inside, Gary Cousins trying to find his way by Sam Muir, and will do so on the inside. Look at Luke Turner forcing the issue on the outside. Side by side now with Cousins. Nick Wood slots in a 6th spot. Michael Hammond already up to 8th from 10th on the grid and already putting pressure on Jared Knight. Off goes Gary Cousins. Back on he comes. But he loses 2 positions in the process and then gets an elbow from Nick Wood as well. And look at Michael Hammond just tearing up positions as though the seas are parting for him. Michael Hammond up 5 spots in the opening sector. Brilliant stuff from Hammond. The Porsche just spread eagling his way through that opening sector. Made it look easy. Just picked the gaps perfectly and let the track position come to him. Nick Wood, Richard King, Paul Wood, then Jared Knight and Nick Fardiatis make up the top 10, so Knight's lost 2 spots. But the corkscrew, look at that commitment from Richard King down on the inside of Nick Wood. Michael Hammond has gained 5. Top 4 remain where they started. And we're side by side through much of the field at the moment as they all sort themselves out and look for clear real estate. Gary Cousins has had an absolute shocker of an opening lap, down 8 spots. It's not as bad as Indianapolis where he drew all the way at the first corner, but it's his probably 2nd worst opening lap of the season thus far. Fardiatis back around onto the main straight. Slots into 10th place, up 3 spots already. Turner now the leader up on the inside. Turner to the lead down on the inside of Jordan Malcolm to turn 1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a new master in town.
Now, I've got to say, for 40 plus cars on the grid, a tight little track like this, there isn't many incidents on my tracker. They've got through that relatively cleanly, so well done to the boys.
Josh Zuno, a non-starter. John Simpson down 11 spots, and now Greg Padgett off track as well. But all in all, a relatively clean start. Nick Wood in trouble. Nick Wood drops a wheel in the dirt, drops down to 7th now. Drops in behind Richard King. Paul, oh no, there goes Gary Cousins. It goes from bad to worse. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Robert McGrath is now the car in front of Cousins there. He's dropped 25 spots, and there goes Warwick Sharp as well.
Oh, that's
now the action. Now the floodgates have opened. Now the action of plenty's creeping in.
Absolutely, very clever to get on the reverse gear there. The trick thing with that corner is it's blind on entry, so you have to approach it, and you're approaching
Hammond, sorry Banksy, coming back to you. Hammond around the outside of Muir to go to 4th. The Porsche's on a charge in California. What about that? A great run out of the corkscrew section of the circuit. There goes Nick Fardiatis taking Clint Collard as well. He goes up to 9th. Jared Knight dropping down outside the top 10 now. Down 4 spots to 11th. Championship implications left, right and centre here at the moment. Luke Turner the leader. Sam Chapman gets down on the inside to get by Jordan Malcolm to go to 2nd. It is all happening.
And Sam Chapman came from absolutely nowhere. He was absolutely miles back. Just dove in. Absolutely slammed on the brakes, very Ricciardo-esque in that he just absolutely surprised Jordan Malcolm in 3rd place and took the position, and that's Mitch McIntyre getting into a collision with David Christian's off the track, but I think that's a separate incident. He's out of the race according to my tracker.
Yeah, Dale Jefferson, Robert McGrath down there with Mitch McIntyre at the moment, so a little bit of a skirmish potentially. We'll have a look at the movers and shakers in just a moment because our position tracker is showing pluses and minuses all over the bloody place. This is what happened to Simpson. All on his lonesome, unfortunately. Josh Zuno, the non-starter. Ben Hutchinson, Gary Cousins, both in pit lane on the tow rope. It's been a shocking start. Oh, jeez. And Woods. That was Greg Padgett that he slammed into, was it not?
I think it was. Only one of the
this is what happened to Gary Cousins. Oh, dirt. And then absolutely poleaxe consent. You can't go 4 wide there, boys. It's not Formula V. Have a look at this again. 1, 2, that makes 3. Yeah, you're not going to go 4 wide that way. The car on the On the immediate right, Cousins might have a case to answer for there, going for a gap that was non-existent. I don't envy the stewards tonight. They're going to be busy. They're going to be very busy. Off track now for Paul Wood, dropping down outside the top 10. Paul Wood's off the road. This is what happened to Warwick Sharper on his own. Oh. And it is a little bit of a blind exit of that corner, so you can understand why he got a tap on the exit and sent further back into the gravel trap. And this is Paul Wood bringing himself undone, or did he get some assistance? No, he's going to go all on his own. Oh, lost the back end.
Recovers it nicely though.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at about a minute and a half a lap here, boys, as well. So a minute 27 for Luke Turner. So let's just call it as we see it. That'll be 8 laps in 12 minutes, 16 in 24. Plus the splash and dash, I think we get to 17 tonight. So yeah, 2 laps every 3 minutes and 3/8 make 2.
Just going to interrupt your calculations.
17.
Hammond go down the inside.
Oh! Hammond and Malcolm! And Hammond down the inside. What about the charge from the 007?
Absolutely smashing it. He's determined to get to first place. But he's going to have to get there quickly because Luke Turner's going at a rapid pace and not out front. He's half a second quicker than the guy behind, Sam Chapman. He's 2.8 seconds clear of Sam Chapman. So Mikey Hammond, he's got Sam Chapman 1.6 seconds ahead of him, and he's got 3 seconds he's going to have to make to Luke Turner. So if he is going to go for the win, which seems like he's got the pace and the bravery to do, he's going to have to get the move on us and watch Jordan Malcolm come into pressure for Sam Muir. Sam Muir taking 4th place, Jordan Malcolm down into 5th. He's going to come into pressure from Richard King behind him for 5th place. And this is the corner earlier that we talked about. The entry to this is blind, and you understeer on the entry, and then the a little bit of elevation change helps you make the corner. So if you're taking it at full pace, you're actually not going to make the corner. It doesn't look like you're going to make the corner until you get around that apex, and all of a sudden you get a bit of extra grip, a bit of extra turning, which is why where that car that span earlier was so dangerous on the exit, because you can't see it, and then by the time you got around the apex, it's too late to do anything about it. So he was very lucky only to get the 1 touch and did the clever thing to reverse and then wait for a position.
Off goes Dane Snadden from 17th, and Paul Wood creeps back up into 17th, so Snadden loses a spot there. Richard King wide at the final corner. That's live. That's happening right now. Richard King wide at the final corner, and Fodiatis lucky to miss him as well. It wasn't a dangerous rejoin on King's part. It was just that the boys from behind crept up on him at a rapid rate of knots. So Fodiatis to 7th, now up 6 spots. And Sam Chapman, the best of the championship contenders at the moment. Sitting, of course, there in... my apologies. Not Chapman. Michael Hammond, the best place of the championship competitors at the moment. Turner with the fastest lap of the race, 1:27.78. Hammond 3rd, Muir 4th. I got Muir's and the Chapmans mixed up there for a moment. So Hammond, the best place of the championship contenders, despite being the worst place of the championship contenders on the outright points table, down in 5th place at the moment. 58 points separates the top 5 in this title fight at the halfway mark. 16 and a half minutes to go. Next thing to keep an eye out on for, boys, pit stops. Who dives when? Who jumps? Who pulls the trigger first?
And who can get out of the pit stops, out of the pits safely. It's a really tricky pit exit, and if anybody hasn't practiced it, they are going to go straight on, and they're going to get a penalty.
Fodiatis under the pump here as well. Could lose 7th to Clint Collard. Collard trying to go round the outside and does so. Looks to take Jared Knight with him and Richard King as well. Oh, geez. Poor old Nick Fodiatis, the floodgates have opened here. He's lost 2 spots. It could be 3 in a moment. And it is. Back to 10th he goes. Turner a 1:27.50, fastest lap of the race. Fastest number of the night. Look at the poke of the Porsche up on the outside, still hanging tough, trying to go toe-to-toe with Richard King. Now he yields. Oh, take a breath, everybody. Can you believe that's 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes of the race gone. It feels like we've been watching it for 25. There's been that much unfold so far. The biggest movers and shakers, 10 spots up for Josh Robertson, 12 for Robert McGrath, 14 for Edwin Zamora, 12 for Adam Johnson, 10 for Brendan Soper. Everybody else in single digits at the moment. Dane Snadden out of business, Gary Cousins, Ben Hutchinson, all out of business at this point. So we're down to 38, make it 37 now because Mitch McIntyre's retired as well. Actually, no, he hasn't. My apologies. He's actually back out on the racetrack. It was just a freezer downwind on timing. So the first sign of any glitches tonight that was in the timing booth. So yes, down to 39 we are. But happy to report that McIntyre and Snadden, albeit back out on the racetrack, are a lap down. So we've got 37 on the lead lap at the moment. The attrition hasn't been as high as we may have anticipated at the start of the race. Luke Turner at the end of 7 laps. We are anticipating 17, ladies and gentlemen. Leads this thing by 4 seconds.
So we've got Trent Allen on screen here, new member of the club last week. Up in the 13th out of 40, so it's not too bad of an effort. Going to make a position possibly on Jeff Adams here. Right.
He's going to have, if he dives to the inside early over this crest, he's going to have the inside. That's exactly what he's done. He's got the inside line going into the double left-hander. He should be able to hold it from there. It is very hard to go around the outside there. Even though it looks like from the outside he might be able to do it, there just isn't the grip on that outside line to really go all the way around the outside and stick with him. And to make matters worse, he puts a tyre on the grass on the exit. That's going to put him under pressure from the car behind as well.
Absolutely. And hey, just by the by, what are we? 14 minutes left in this race. Good luck to GT3 topping what we've seen thus far. Good luck to GT3 topping the intensity and the drama that we've already had here at Laguna Seca. The big story is Michael Hammond, 5th in the championship. Oh, Jared Knight's off the road. Jared Knight off the road and lucky to gather it up. Drops a couple of spots. Loses out to Clint Collard and Richard King. Slots in front of Nick Fodiatis. And now back down the inside. Oh, how close were they to contact. Jared Knight not having a great night of it here at Laguna Seca. And now Joe Baldwin and Jeff Adams showing off the road. Lap traffic doing a very nice job of getting out of the way there for Knight and Fodiatis and King as well. Collard has broken clear of that battle. A second and a half to the good. Nick Wood now starting to put the pressure on to Jordan Malcolm here. Michael Hammond within a second of Sam Chapman. Jeez, that was Joe Baldwin's fault, unfortunately. Just locked it up on the entry to the corkscrew. Dale Sharp, Paul Wood, Joe Baldwin, all into pit lane. We're being told happy birthday to Jared Knight. Thanks for letting us know. We weren't aware, but it's not exactly a happy birthday for him on the racetrack at this point in time. 12 and a half minutes gone. Half race distance, ladies and gentlemen. Poor boy. Luke Turner, the leader, has led pretty much the entire way thus far.
And a bunch of guys
took the lead at the start of the second lap.
Yeah, a bunch of guys pitting. Dale Sharp, Paul Wood, Joe Baldwin, Ben Woods, all in the pits, all on the side.
Contact!
Much on the inside.
Jared Knight, and that's Richard King off the road.
They threatened to do that.
Richard King off the road.
And they've done it this lap instead. Richard King down.
There are some big talking points here, and we mentioned that because, remember, Jared Knight's a championship contender. Jordan Malcolm's a championship contender. He's sitting 5th at the moment. Michael Hammond, Sam Muir, Nick Wood, all championship contenders. And Nick Wood hasn't won a race yet, but Mr. Consistent, Fodiatis around the outside to try and pull off the side. Oh, Jared Knight chops across and goes straight to pit lane. Fodiatis around the outside to get the job done, and a move very similar to the one put on him a couple of laps ago. Jared Knight into pit lane. Luke Turner 127.43, fastest lap of the race thus far. So he continues to flex his muscle and extend his advantage at the top end of town. 4.73 to the good at the moment. Pete Matson up into 15th now, but this is not a fair reflection of how things are going to play out because the field isn't yet fully cleansed. Top 15 yet to stop. So too Robert McGrath, Aaron Major, Edward Zamora, Adam Johnson, Brendan Soper, John Simpson and Wayne Edwards.
And that's car on the wall.
Oh, bang! Gone! Sean Rees! Big smash! Big shunt. On the tie rope. See you later.
For those of you that are not familiar with this track, who haven't seen it in real life or don't know what it's like on the sim, all that orange stuff on the outside is just dust and dirt, and there is zero grip. It's not tarmac, it's less grippy than grass even. You put 2 wheels on it and you are almost certainly ending up the wall. It's so hard to control your car as soon as you touch that stuff, and that's what's causing a bunch of the incidents we're seeing here. It's just cars, they're trying to use all the curve, they're putting 2 cars on the outside of the curb, touching that dirt, and it's spinning them round, and it is causing issues. And I have to say, I don't know what has been in the water this week, or if they've all been taking Audacity pills, because some of these overtakes have been ridiculous.
They have been. well, what's been more impressive is the ones that have been pulled off. The ones that have come off cleanly have been fantastic. The other ones, yeah, they've been off the chart as well, but for the wrong reasons. Hey, Michael Hammond now. Foot to the throat of Sam Chapman. Here he's within almost 3/4 of a second. Michael Hammond ever, so gradually closing that gap. I don't think anyone's catching Luke Turner tonight. The margin's 4.9. But Hammond from 10th could soon be looking at second place. Huge as far as the championship's concerned.
Yeah, it's been reeling him in slowly, but does he have enough pace to make an overtake? He hasn't caught him as fast as I might have suspected. We know Mikey Hammond is an absolutely class act who can pull out
Watching him
fantastic pace when he's on form.
Watch him in pit lane. I wouldn't be surprised if he's planning something for the undercut here to try and pip Chapman in pit lane. And Chapman's next issue is going to be lap traffic, and that might work to the advantage of Hammond here as well. No, lap traffic does a nice job of getting out the road and then balks out on the run through. Oh, you can't buy luck in this game all the time. Down the inside, Hammond. Onto the main straight. Let's ride with him. Across the line, 8 3/4 to go. We're on lap 12 at Laguna Seca. Round 6, waste options GT4. If you're enjoying this, stick around. GT3, we're going to bring you the first race from the M Split, the second race from the Pro Split tonight. The best of both worlds from the Hockenheim Ring as soon as we're done here. But the intensity, from the outset is at 11/10. Even I'm up and about in the commentary box more lively than what I would be on a Monday night normally. And even Liam's caught the memo that in this game, in this commentary box, you have to get your words out as quickly as possible because it's very hard to get a word in when I'm in full flight. Across the line we go. Pete Matson sitting there in 12th place at the moment on our screen and make it 11th now, being pursued by Warwick Sharp.
And he's up 18 spots. 18 spots from 29th on the grid to 11th, pressuring the top 10, although back down to 12th. As Sharp gets back down the inside, an absolutely beautiful move. This is a battle I could watch all day. And then just behind Pete Matson, if 17 spots up isn't enough for you, we've got Robert McGrath, who's up 20 positions from a starting spot, started in 33rd. That's lower than that's lower down than the amount of cars we normally get in the server, and he's up into 13th, up 20. Fantastic.
You could say that was a sharp bit of driving from Warwick Sharp, and that's where my extended dad jokes will end and cease for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Up we go. Have a look at this. McGrath under pressure from Jared Knight, who's already pitted. Knight on the comeback trail. Goes through. Makes the line work of McGrath and into 13th place. Jared Knight, of course, the first of that top end of town to stop, but could have a case to answer for. With regards to an earlier incident.
In the pits. So this
Chapman,
is
Hammond, Odiatis.
All in the pits. So these are the first of our lead group to pit, other than Jared Knight. We need to watch where they come out in respect to Jared Knight. Jared Knight, of course, had an incident and then pitted. So do you expect these three to come out ahead of him, particularly as Jared Knight's been battling his way in traffic? But this is important to see where they come out. Yeah, absolutely well ahead. Sam Chapman looks like he's going to come out in 6th place still. So they're really not going to be impacted by traffic. They basically they've done the classic maneuver that the F1 teams, the top F1 teams tend to do, where they pull a pit stop on the rest of the pack, the midfield, and that's what these guys have done, pitting from 2nd and 3rd, and they are in 6th and 7th place, respectively.
Oh boy. 41 cars started this race. We have slowly but surely whittled our way down. No Sean Rees, no Richard King, Gary Cousins, Ben Hutchinson, even if they get back on the circuit now, can't be classified. Here comes Jeff Adams back out onto the racetrack. Got Riddell chiming in with the comment of the night as well. But Lucas 6 craft beers down and still dominating.
He's just
drink and gamble responsibly, ladies and gentlemen. He's just easing into the evening.
He's just pulling in now to get his 7th.
Yeah, exactly. Top up whilst the fuel tank topped up as well. Not sure if those craft beers do more damage to you or less damage to you than a traditional 4X or 2 is new, but clearly it's not impacting Luke Turner whatsoever. Oh, there goes Warwick Sharp through the corkscrew on the exit. One of the trigger trouble points of the circuit, and Sharp's on the tow rope. And just on that note, quite a few competitors down finding themselves a lap down. Here's the Mora, King, Snadden, McIntyre, Parker. Brooks is in pit lane. Scott Craig is 2 laps down, Sean Rees 3 laps down, and Richard King 4 laps down, but they are both out of business. Remember, in a 17-lap race, 13 is your 75% marker for classification purposes. And we are now 5 minutes away from the checkered flag flying. Jared Knight down the inside to go to 8th on Bodiatis. Second time that these two have found each other on the racetrack tonight, and this time round, Knight comes up trumps. Field cleansed with the exception of Jordan Malcolm and Nick Wood, who we should expect into the pit lane any tick of the clock, given that it is lap 14, given that we're past that 20-minute threshold.
And how's this from Woodsy back from his 6-month sabbatical?
Yes.
Still not feeling 100%, still not feeling comfortable, on the verge of the top 10. Good work, Woodsy.
Absolutely, despite running into trouble earlier in the night himself as well. Nick Wood into the lane, Jordan Malcolm carries on.
That's what Alex did. Jordan Malcolm, is he? There's only a couple more laps left.
Is Jordan Malcolm trying to maybe save some fuel here and get himself home?
He might have been. That might be why he was so slow in turn 1. He was actually lifting the coast, because you can't clutch anymore in these things.
That's right, exactly. So just keep an eye on Malcolm.
It'd be a stretch, but he's one of the people that will try it.
It's 9.5 seconds his advantage over Luke Turner. If there's anyone that could do it, yes, it is Jordan Malcolm. Nick Wood into pit lane and back out again and into 6th place. And so as far as those championship contenders are concerned, Malcolm best placed at the moment, but we're not sure whether he's going to get us to the checkered flag or whether he's got to come in and splash and dash for 2 laps of fuel. Chapman is not in the equation. We worked that out earlier. I got my two Sams mixed up. Hammond, Muir, Wood, the next 3 best of the championship contenders, and Knight down in 8th at the moment. So all the top 5 of the championship in the top 8 in this race thus far. It's a very busy racetrack. Good luck finding clear air and real estate tonight. Paul Wood. Can he get down on the inside? Yes, he can. Paul Wood's into the top 10. What a nice move on Dale Sharp, but he's going to be under pressure from Sharp and Robertson now as well. Robertson, the floodgates have opened for Sharp as Robertson goes up the outside. Robertson to 11th and Sharp slots back into 12th and immediately under pressure from Trev Allen as well. 4-way fight for that final spot in the top 10. It sits with Paul Wood at the moment. 2:40 left on the clock. Malcolm starts his 16th lap and no sign of a pit stop. Car off the road there. That's Ben Woods again. It's not been the best night at the office for him. 2.5 minutes to go and Jordan Malcolm is on the cusp of lifting and coasting his way to his 3rd win of the campaign, and a win that could end up being a championship defining one.
I was thinking earlier, there had to be a reason why he was like so early, slowing down into turn 1 and just letting everyone pass. And this has to be it. He has to have had a thought that there was only 4 or 5 litres or whatever fuel he needed, and he's decided, I'm going to have a crack at this and see how he goes.
There's only 2 laps to go, this one and the next one. When he gets back to the line, he should see the white flag. Robertson's got the lights ablaze, signalling to lap traffic. Get out of my road, let me get on with it. Back we go to the battle for this final spot on the podium. This is Chapman and Hammond. These two were fighting for 2nd in the race earlier. But with Jordan Malcolm doing what he's doing at the top end of town, one of these guys will find their way onto the podium and one of them will miss out. What a charge it's been from Hammond. From 10th up to 4th. It could end up being 3rd. It could end up being a podium for the 007. Luke Turner's off the road. Luke Turner kicking up the dust. But he's okay. He marches on. White flag is out. Jordan Malcolm's on his way home. The margin is 8.8 seconds. He wouldn't want a coffin splatter across the line with that sort of a buffer. Can he pull this off?
If he gets to the corkscrew, he'll be fine. From the corkscrew, it's all downhill.
He'll be able to get downhill to the last corner. It's the checkered flag that he's got to get uphill for. Great strategy play. Josh Zuno called it. What a strat from Jordan. Could be his 3rd win of the season. A no-stopper. We haven't seen one of them this season pay off successfully in Waste Options GT4, but we might be about to. Josh Millard side-by-side, elbows out there with Aaron Major. He's thrown it away! Jordan Malcolm's thrown it away! Can you believe that? Turn 6, final lap! There goes Luke Turner to the lead! Oh, can you sometimes. And now all of a sudden he's going to find himself under tremendous pressure from Sam Chapman and Michael Hammond on the run to the line. Oh my goodness me. He didn't put a foot wrong all night. He didn't put a foot wrong until the clock struck 0. And now he goes from potential hero to runner-up. Bridesmaid to this guy. Haven't seen him in Waste Options GT4 for the longest time, but he hasn't lost any of his skill. Luke Turner gets the job done in extraordinary fashion.
Oh. To lift. And
Sam got him.
Sam Chapman takes second
gets
place.
him. That's how close it was for Jordan Malcolm. He would have been okay had it not been for the spin. What a dramatic way for Luke Turner to win a race. But what a cruel way for Jordan Malcolm to lose it as well. Michael Hammond comes home in 4th. Sam Chapman got Jordan Malcolm by 0.07 of a second. Sam Muir in for 5th. Then Nick Wood, Clint Collard, Jared Knight and Nick Fodiatis with Paul Wood making up the top 10. That's great to see. There was 0.25 of a second separating Knight and Fodiatis. Let's have a look at the defining moment of the night right here and now.
Inside curb.
Oh, it's a cruel game.
Too cautious. He scrubbed off a load of speed, decided to make sure he was going to make it, and he had more grip than he thought. Turned too sharply, touches the inside curb. You know when you hear people on the radio and they talk about, just keep doing what you're doing, they say that, and they say, like, don't slow down, because when you slow down and you just do something a little bit different, you can make a mistake like that. He'll be absolutely good because he thought he was doing the right thing, trying to be cautious, and then that.
Oh.
Just throws salt on the wound.
Just to add insult to injury. I mean, he still gets a podium.
He's got to be happy with that. The only person to make one stop work gets on the podium.
Exactly. He still beats Jared Knight and Nick Wood, and he had to do that with regards to the championship fight. But it's not as big a dent in that deficit as it otherwise might have been. Can you believe Waste Options GT4? Our 5th different winner of the season. And it's the returning Luke Turner, who hasn't lost it.
The merch shop's going to get some hits tonight.
Jeez.
Now we can have even more stubbies.
Oh, Sam Chapman joins us as well. What an incredible fight from you as well, mate. I mean, it looked like second for the longest time because no one was catching Luke Turner. Then all of a sudden, Jordan Malcolm catches everyone off guard and thinks, hang on, I can make a one-stop work. And he bloody well would have had it not been for spinning on the run up the hill on the final lap. And you pip him at the post as he starts to cough.
Yeah, I just saw him ahead of me there after he fell over. I thought he was going for your fuel save too, because every time I was going into the corners, he was going in at much less speed in the early days. And I was like, no, Jordan's faster than me. I don't know why he'd be going into the corners slower other than to do a fuel save. So it was a fair effort by him. But yeah, kept the nose clean and brilliant race. Really enjoyed it.
And as for you, Sam, that I mean, we've only seen twice so far this season, a 17th and a 7th. So by far and away, that was your best performance in Waste Options GT4 thus far, mate. And what a way to do it as well. Obviously, you pip Jordan at the post. That's not the main focus here. The focus is how you managed to withstand the pressure of the 007.
Yeah, he was coming in and out of my rearview mirror, and no, it was. I think on pace I was doing all right. I really love Laguna Seca as a track, and I generally do okay around here. So yeah, it was just trying to keep calm and make sure that he stayed behind me and didn't get too close because I didn't really want him around my rear quarters too much either.
I'm not touching that, but I think there's a few people that will be nodding and agreeing and understanding exactly what you're saying, given recent events and past history in this category. Mate, that being said, faultless performance from you tonight. You hit all your markets, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. Only errors were pretty minor, just little off tracks and that sort of thing. I had done a bit of practice before. Helped that this track was way cooler than what it usually is in Southern California. So, yeah, you meant that this little Porsche went around the track nicely.
Mates, I must say, that race had just about everything. The old GT3 boys will be hard pressed to top the entertainment, the drama, the excitement that we've seen in GT4 in the entree tonight.
Oh, absolutely will. It's I think there were just almost 40 cars out there too, which always makes
41 we had on the grid.
Yeah, 41. So 41 round Laguna Seca was always going to be interesting. But these cars are great racing, especially sort of they're quite balanced now. So some of them have more strengths in some places, and I can't imagine this was a Mercedes track, for instance. But yeah, I think they will struggle to put it on, but I'll be watching regardless.
Absolutely. Now, the rest of the season, we're looking forward to what's to come in GT4. Let's just have a quick look ahead at that now. We go from the west coast of America back over towards the east, towards the Detroit Grand Prix Belle Isle Circuit in Michigan. And this is the old one, not the new one, of course. Next Monday night, straight after we're all weary-eyed on the back of viewing the Indianapolis 500 in the early hours of the morning. We must be looking forward to this too, because Detroit brings with it completely different challenges to Laguna Seca, but it is, in every sense of the word, just as unforgiving, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I would say more unforgiving in Detroit. At least here you've got a little bit of gravel to deal with. Detroit, you just bump off into a big piece of concrete. So, yeah, I think my track record at Detroit is not as good as it is at Laguna Seca, so we'll see how that goes. I've sort of just been jumping in on the tracks I like this season for GT4, so, but some good tracks to come, so I might stick around.
Very nicely done. Hey, mate, no reason not to stick around when you're holding your own as well as you did tonight. Second by the skin of your teeth, in what looked like being third or fourth, is a win as far as I'm concerned for you, because no one was stopping Luke Turner, and that became pretty bloody clear by about the 5-minute mark of this race. Well done, mate. We'll let you go for the moment. We'll move around the room as we get ready for GT3, and thanks for coming in to have a chat to us again.
Yeah, beauty. Thanks, sir.
And on that note, actually, I believe I'm right in saying that Chapo's here on Sunday doing some overtime with one L Banks for the latest round of the GT3 Endurance Championship, with thanks to our good friends there at Login Systems. And that will be from 11 a.m, I believe, boys. Am I right in saying? Around Road Atlanta?
Yep, that's it.
Correct.
4 hours. Should be a good race. So yeah, tune in. Hopefully, I've got some work to do on my PC this week to make sure all the cars aren't flashing.
And there's still epileptics wanting your head for the amount of flash work you gave them a few weeks back, mate. But that's another story. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Just one for the political incorrect column for you on a Monday night, ladies and gentlemen. Let's press on here. Jordan Malcolm, Jesus Christ. I shouldn't blasphemy this early in the evening, particularly for those of you over on the West Coast eating your dinner at the moment. But, mate, we thought you had that, and for 99.9% of it, it was home and hosed. Unfortunately, one little moment, this particular corner right here, just on the run up the hill on the last lap, and it all comes undone. But what an effort until then.
Yeah, mate, I still don't believe it, mate. Oh, I can't believe I messed that up. Yeah, just coming through the corkscrew, just didn't have the rear downforce on it. I saw it was a short parade lap. I did some practice during the week thinking, I might fuel save this. Saw that the parade lap was probably going to mess it up, but I saw it was a short one, so I was like, we're on here. So, yeah, lowered the wing at the last minute. And, yeah, just on the last lap, just didn't have the downforce through that corner.
Well, I was going to say, something didn't quite add up in the early stages there, the early pieces of this, because the floodgates had opened and you were dropping like a fly. Hammond went by, a couple of others went by, and we thought, hang on, what's going on here? This is not like Jordan Malcolm, the two-time race winner that we've seen so far this season, a former GT4 Series champion. But all of a sudden, it became very apparent when we saw everyone else pit and not you, that you might have been up to something. So this is a plan of attack and some homework that you'd done well before tonight.
Yeah, mate. This track was a lot like Woods Kogan, if you remember, a couple of seasons ago.
Yep.
So it just had a lot of elevation changes, a lot of downhill where you can just roll, let the car roll. So it was very similar to that, and it almost ended up in the same result. But yeah, just my error in the end. I think Charles Leclerc said it best a few years ago.
Yeah. Yes. Mate, that being said, glass half empty, glass half full. Yes, it's a win that gets away from you. And yes, it's a second that is just fallen by the wayside as well by the skin of your teeth there. Was that a case of a coffin splutter at the line there?
Yeah, it was a coffin splatter, and I'm also pretty annoyed because I had a 0x up to that point, so there goes those bonus points as well.
However, glass half full, let's focus on the positive here. All your main championship contenders finished behind you, mate. So you've done what you needed to do in terms of that fight, and it is really tight at the top.
Yeah, it is, and you know, you can't afford like a bad race. I think, you know, I've had a couple of shockers in the first 2 weeks, so everything had to be a winner. So I'm just a little annoyed that I dropped like, you know, 10, 20 points just right there, and you know, it could come back to haunt me later.
Could well. We'll wait and see. Time will tell. Obviously, we've still got 4 weeks. But we've got Michigan next. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, looking forward to Detroit. I think the Porsche will like the track. Yeah, we'll do some practice and see how we end up.
All right, very nicely done. Now, what's next for you? Are you having a run in GT3 shortly at Hockenheim?
Henry will be back next week for Watkins Glen. Yeah, just got home too late today, so just no practice again. So we'll park it up for a night, watch the broadcast back.
Yeah, I was going to say, watch the first 24 and a half minutes back. I think the last half a minute might haunt you, but that's racing, isn't it? You win some, you lose some.
Exactly right, yeah. Yeah, congrats to Luke. He was mega quick today, and yeah, we'll go on to next week.
All right, mate, very nicely done. Thanks for stopping by for a chat. Appreciate it.
All good.
Luke Turner, welcome back. And unsurprisingly, it's almost one of those Brenton Hobson-esque type moments, straight to the top step of the summit. But by gee, you very nearly fell short. Had it not been for Jordan Malcolm throwing it away there on the last lap, it would have been second, mate. But until that point, it looked like you were never going to be caught.
Yeah, g'day, Zach. In a while.
Yeah, welcome back. Exactly. Where have you been hiding?
Oh, everywhere. Look, Zach, I got kissed on the you-know-what tonight. Jordan was by far faster. He set a stonking qualifying lap. And even if he hadn't have saved, I'm sure he would have driven off into the distance. So I feel really sorry for him. I had a quick look at the replay. Just unlucky for him. But look, I'll take it. So it was a fun night. Good to have a little run.
And nice to see you in a Merc in GT4, mate. I mean, obviously, we've more commonly associated with you with GT3 and other vehicles in the past. But obviously, the GT4 is still a comfy fit.
I'm a senior now, Zach. It's way too late for me to stay up and race GT3, so I race the baby one and then have my milk and go to bed.
Well, I was going to say, someone will be drinking milk next Monday morning when we wake up at the Indianapolis 500. So it's funny that you've made that reference for us a week early. But, mates, yeah, you're right. Jordan Malcolm obviously had great pace in qualifying, set the field alight, and then immediately went into strategy mode. It was unfortunate for him that it fell by the wayside, but you yourself had a couple of moments there where the two wheels were in the dirt. It was getting kicked up. You were lucky to hold on to it. But that being said, how was it to blow out the cobwebs and reacquaint yourself with this car?
Yeah, really good. So I did. I tried the Porsche this afternoon, and I just did not get along with that car. So I saw the weight on the Merc, and I was like, bugger it. It just suits the way that I like to drive the car a little bit better. I got a lot more rotation out of it, and it's not as good on some of the slower corners, but on some of those fast corners it just rotates beautifully and you can drive it with your feet. So it's actually a really nice little little car. I like the Merc GT3 as well. We did Nord's 24-hour last weekend, and yeah, I just find both the Mercedes just fun to drive and just suits the way I like to pedal the car.
What's next for you, mate? Because obviously you've already revealed your hand that you're a senior now. You don't do these late races, but when can we expect you back in here, please?
I think GT4 will be something I'll try my hand at a little bit more. I'm back to traveling a lot for work, so I'm off to India tomorrow. So hopefully, hopefully I can stay healthy and not get sick. So yeah, I think GT4, mate. It's a nice little quick one. 25 minutes. Go to bed early. And the competition in here now is unreal. In fact, I would reckon it's, you know, aside from Denchi, there's some really fast guys in this GT4 field now.
Yeah, exactly right. I was going to say, Denchi came out and put on a clinic last season in this championship as well, and there's a few people still scarred by that, that were quite happy that he committed to not turning up in GT4 this season. But you mentioned India. Hopefully iRace can go with you and scan the Bud International Circuit that MotoGP's racing at later this year. Formula One, of course, already previously raced at. That'd be a nice addition to the server as far as I'm concerned. That being said, while we've got you, what about finding clear real estate out there in qualifying tonight? Because with 42 on the grid for Laguna Seca, it looked fairly hectic.
Yeah, it was, and I've got to put up my hand. I had another senior moment, so sorry to Richard King. I was just sitting to the side, trying to find clean air, and the next one I was looking at buttons on my steering wheel, and then whack, he hit me. I felt pretty horrible. So yeah, I owe him an apology. That was my fault. Because yes, it was very hard, and there's obviously a big range of abilities out there. So you just got to really be patient, pick your moment, and try and get your lap in. And if you're sort of down on your delta, roll out, get a bit of space, then have another go.
Yep. Sounds about right. When do you? How long's this India trip, please? I'm just trying to gauge when we might see you back in GT4.
A couple of weeks, but then I've got to go to the US, so I might have a little race in a couple of weeks. We'll see. But yeah, definitely I'll stop in and say g'day.
Well, I was going to say the last 2 weeks are Oran Park and Sandown, and the one before that on June 5 is Spa. So any of them I know will be right up your alley.
Well, I like Oran Park, especially in a GT4 car. I think GT3s are a bit quick for there, but something like this, yeah, that'll be ripper fun there. But I'm not sure with 40 cars though. That could get spicy.
Mate, they've done GT3 around there with 40 plus cars. I remember because it was the one that I wasn't here for at the start of 2020. I'm going to say one. Because I was down in the Hunter Valley for my niece's first day of school. So I think it was a traffic jam. We had Scott Rankin and Nick Fodiatis holding the fort for me, and they said that, it was an absolute traffic jam, an absolute bedlam. So if GT4 puts a similar sort of field on that track, which is marginally shorter, of course, than Laguna Seca, there's going to be some fireworks in a couple of weeks' time. Hey, Luke, thanks for that, mate. Well done. Congratulations. Safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you when you pop back into the server in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Thanks, boys. Have a good one.
What about that? A nice performance from a real benchmark former in this club. Paul Wood, welcome into you. Adam Lavis nailed the point there a few moments ago. You're still reacquainting yourself at the sim rig. It's been a while since we've seen you on back-to-back weeks. You've come back from your sabbatical, but all of a sudden, it's a top 10 finish on what was a really difficult night at the office for plenty of drivers out there. How'd you find it?
Crowded, but no, good race. I'm happy with the result, especially Laguna. It's not one of my favourite tracks, but I didn't do too badly. But yeah, still a ways to go. Just so many little mistakes that cost me, and I had one little spin early on that cost me big time. But
I was going to come to that, Woodsy. You've took the words right out of my mouth there, mate. Unfortunately, that did put pay to a potentially higher result. You certainly had the pace to go there.
Yeah, I was doing. It's just again trying to get the consistency, and that's where I'm struggling at the moment. It's just lap after lap to be able to do the same thing, but just little things like I said, muscle memory, just a little bit of lazy techniques that have come back out again. I've got it back on top of, but Over time, I think I'll get there. Like I said, I'm just taking it easy, easing my way back in. I'm enjoying the cars, enjoying being back in the Porsche now that I'm starting to get my head wrapped around driving the thing again. So, yeah, it's fun. It was very busy out there, but I think that makes for good racing. You're racing someone the whole time. It's not really a bit of a dead zone on the track, so it's good fun.
Indeed it is. And what's next for Paul Wood now? Because obviously you've got yourself back in the top 10. We'll be looking to build on that, no doubt, when we get to the Belle Isle circuit in Detroit, Michigan next week.
Yeah, looking forward to Belle Isle. I enjoy it, although, again, if we've got 40-odd people there, that's going to be real hectic, but it should be fun. I love myself a street circuit. They always seem to put up some good racing. But, yeah, for me, it's just easing back in at the moment. I'm going to try and possibly jump into something else this week. I only did GT4 last week, and just still getting my health back there, so energy levels are still low. But, yeah, I'm getting there, getting the feel for things, just getting back in the groove. And, yeah, we'll see if I can, get a decent result again next week, and we'll move on from there.
Your teammates had an okay run, but poor old Gary Cousins couldn't take a trick.
Yeah, poor Gazza. He didn't have a good start, and it just sort of went downhill from there. It's I think because I was back with the same colour skin on, so I took his luck away from him. So yeah, he just decided to go, I'll pull this one up, and he ended up just spotting for a few of the guys and watching the race. So it's one of those nights you put it in the past and move on.
And not going to lie, spotters would have come in very valuably handy tonight, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, Pete was driving along and his crew chief wasn't working, so he had no spotter on his. So Josh was there as well helping, so they were trying to spot for him and tell him where some cars were and that. So yeah, all round it was pretty good, pretty consistent result. It's we're just hoping we can keep it going now and just settle back into a rhythm and get ready for next season if we can have some good results.
Indeed. All right, mate. Very nicely done. We're a little bit pressed for time here because we've got GT3 standing by, but we do appreciate that. Go well for the rest of the week.
No worries, guys. Thank you very much.
And we'll catch up with you next Monday night. There's the updated championship standings. Ooh, she's tight. 18 points separates first and third. And then 243 for Sam Muir and 222 for Michael Hammond. So it's interesting because you look at Hammond's result there tonight, much needed in the grand scheme of things, but still not able to beat Jordan Malcolm, and of course still a long way off Nick Wood and Jared Knight, but 21 points away from Sam Muir. I think it was 58 between first and fifth coming into the night, and it is now 54. So all of a sudden it's tightened, but ever so gradually, ever so slightly. Liam, just before we put a full stop on this and turn our attention to GT3 with a quick break in the middle, we mentioned it at the start of the night. Laguna Seca is a great racetrack. They come out from under the woodwork to go racing here. They've proven that. The numbers fluctuate week in, week out because of the track or other commitments that might deter people from being able to be in the simulator in the first place. But at the end of the day, that might go down as far as I'm concerned, and I don't care if anyone disagrees with me. Most people do, but that might go down as the race of the season for GT4.
I think it's going to take a lot to top that. It's certainly the rest of the season so far. I think Belle Isle could be an absolute cracker. As could Spa with the slipstream effect. We're going to get down that long straight. They're going to be on that straight forever. So it's a bit early to call it, but that was absolutely cracking. One of the best races I've seen at the GSRC, and an absolute showcase for why this series is so popular and why it attracts 40 cars. Most series can't attract 40 cars on Laguna Seca, but the GT4s can, and that's why, because the racing is phenomenal.
Just have absolutely no idea as to whether those numbers will then bounce back and arrive on the streets of Detroit, Michigan next week. I think Oran Park will be a jam-packed grid, so too probably Sandown. The only other unknown in all of that, of course, is Spa, because, again, the numbers have been so up and down, inconsistent. But tonight, all of a sudden, we're back to the numbers that we saw at the start of the season again, which is really promising stuff. Stay there with me, Banksy. Coming back to you very shortly. We'll grab a quick break now. Monday Night Motorsport on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Hope you're enjoying the show. And if you're not, go and check your pulse because you're very difficult to please. That was one of the best GT4 races I think we've ever seen, albeit with a crushing conclusion for Jordan Malcolm and elation for Luke Turner. Even he admitted that he got kissed on the proverbial tonight. That win was not his for the taking, but Jordan Malcolm, of course, the only foot wrong he put all night, ended up costing him 2 places. We'll wait and see what it means as far as the championship's concerned in 4 weeks' time. But on the other side of the break, race 1 of GT3M, then race 2 of GT3 Pro on a split edition of Waste Options GT3 as we go sprint racing for the 3rd time this season in their campaign. And of course, we've got Watkins Glen coming up for them next week for a 60-minute enduro. So stay with us. Something new. We've got to reinvent the wheel somehow. We've been doing it for 13 seasons now. It's coming your way next. Monday Night Motorsport. You're getting the best of both worlds, some AM and Pro action when we come back. No time to muck around for you tonight on the platforms, the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. Nice to have you along for the ride. It's night 1 of week 6 in term 2 of 2023. And it's the second part of our Porsche in the top 10 at the moment. So 5 different manufacturers at this point. We're getting underway with a field of 25 lining up. Matt Stewart, Clint Collard sitting in pit lane, and I'm assuming that's because they're probably in race control. Adam Chiplin from pole position, alongside Trent Allen, Luke Hay and Kelvin Little from the second row. Geez, he couldn't take a trick last week at Zandvoort. William Yarwood and David Christensen from 3, Adam Holland and Brian Bullock from 4, Reece Dickerson and Trung Wong from 5. Remember, top 10 invert for the second race for these guys, as well on a track that isn't the easiest for overtaking. Sean Rees and Matt Schmidtke from 6, Tim Fuge, Greg Heaney from 7, Ben Woods and Tim Watson from 8, Stephen Birchnell, James Francone from 9 and Robert McGrath and Neil Gladwin from row 10. From row 11, it is Greg Padgett and Pete Matson. From row 12, Eduardo Zamora and Matt Stewart, Clint Collard, Brett Bradbury, and who was the other one in there? Adam Johnson from the back of the grid. I don't muck around on Monday night. 3 hours. You can see the green light, they go! Great start up on the outside, the run down towards turn 1, and Chiplin and Hay duking it out for track position, and look at Trent Allen in there as well! Hay on the charge, trying to get down on the inside to go to the lead on Chiplin, can't do it, but he's going to hang there. They're going to go side by side, and now he's going to try the up and under down the back straight for the first time. To the notoriously difficult hairpin, the biggest, the fastest point of the circuit, leading to the highest brake marker on the circuit as well, the slowest corner on the racetrack, and Luke Hay edges in front. Round the outside he goes. Can he hold it on the exit? We'll wait and see. Chiplin with his nose back in front. Hay hung out to dry. So far, so good. We've had a clean start to GT3 and options here at the Hockenheim Ring. And now look at Chiplin on the defensive as Hay goes with him. They've gapped Kelvin Little and Trent Allen. Down the inside goes Hay. Chiplin still hanging tough there on the outside. Now he has to tuck back in. Luke Hay holds sway.
Brilliant racecraft there from Luke Hay. Got on the inside into the corner. Knew if he got ahead, then he would be able to hold it, because there's no way that Adam Chiplin would be able to come back at him through the fast right-hander, and Adam Chiplin had to yield. Brilliant racing there from Hay. That move was set up all the way back at the hairpin, and he finally makes the stick. But can he stay ahead? It's going to be the question. Not a long race. It's a sprint race, so only 13 laps.
Brett Bradbury.
But they're going to be a difficult 13 laps. Yeah, Brett Bradbury off the road. Really
correct.
Not surprised to see that he won't be the only one to go off the track.
Oh no, 100%. There will be some fireworks. Maybe not as many as in GT4, but there will be some fireworks at some point here. Work run 13. Remember, as soon as we're done here, we quickly swap around again. We change server. We go to GT3 Pro and bring you their feature race over 37 minutes, or I'm assuming somewhere in the vicinity of 23 laps here at the Hockenheim Ring. Did I get the number right, Adam? 22, 23 laps. Copy. Down we go towards the right-hander. It was interesting too watching that racecraft from Luke Hay that you mentioned, Liam Banks, because and now that things have settled down and we're into a bit of a rhythm and it's not just helter-skelter like it was in GT4, we can actually talk about racecraft. Sometimes, particularly around here, it's one of those circuits where you've got to work for 2 or 3 corners to execute overtaking. So occasionally we'll become accustomed to seeing drivers line up on the wrong side of the racetrack. They'll put themselves on the outside when they want to be on the inside, but they're trying to set it up for the next corner, be it for an up and under, or that they're going from a left-hander into a right-hander, etc. and so forth. And right there, another example of it, and off the road. Tim Fuge in battle here with Reece Dickerson and David Christensen. Adam Lee Holland as well. Chuk Fung Wong. It's a freight train of cars at the moment as they head through the stadium section on the second lap.
Really important to note, Reece Dickerson in 8th and Chuk Fung Wong in 10th spot. They're 2 of our championship protagonists, and now right in the bubble of reverse grid pole. If Chuk Fung Wong loses another spot, instead of finishing first, starting first in the next race, he'll start 11th. That would be absolutely crucial, so watch them and look for their names to go forward, because if they don't, they're in danger of losing a spot or 2 and not getting into that reverse grid to the next race.
I was going to say, just breaking away from our motorsport programming for a moment, if you're a fan of the AFL, follow this story closely. There's a bombshell about to make waves out of Tigerland, out of Punt Road. Damien Hardwick is expected.
Oh, Sean Rees!
Taking the fireworks! Sean Rees! He found the wall in GT4, he does it in GT3 as well!
He obviously just found out about the AFL story and surprised himself and ended up in the wall.
Exactly. So yeah, Damien Hardwick, the multi-time premiership winning coach with the Tigers during that golden era that they enjoyed, 2017, 19 and 20, expected to quit as Richmond coach. So we'll follow that story with interest over the next couple of days, no doubt, because that's even caught the AFL off guard, I'm fairly certain. Have a look at Sean Rees here. Curved grass, and a fair shunt too. And he got the ball only once. He was able to pull it up and stop himself from getting it twice. But now he's in pit lane, and that'll do him for the night. Out of business is Sean Rees. Now another, we knew the fireworks would come soon. Pete Matson gets some assistance. Is that from Greg Padgett or Brett Bradbury? Greg Padgett. Bradbury. Yeah, right. Bradbury's helped him around. That's unfortunate for Pete Natson, but he balked himself there, I think, because he took too much curb on the inside and he was starting to go anyway. So
yeah, you really cannot.
Bradbury just finished the job for him.
You can't stay on the inside there, so you saw what he did. He pulled out of it late, and he just upset the car a lot. And I think if you watch it back, you see that he's spinning before he gets helped round, so that obviously that makes it a lot worse. But he was already spinning because he didn't set up the car so much, and that's why when we saw Luke Hay and Adam Chiplin battling, Adam Chiplin pulled out of that manoeuvre on the inside really early and gave Luke Hay the first position because he knew how much it would set up the car trying to stay on the inside there. So what you'll see in the 90-degree left-hander before that, cars going up the inside, knowing that all they have to do is be alongside of the car on the outside, is going to have to give way because they'll be on the inside of that next corner, and it's really, really treacherous there. So they are absolutely risking hang in, and they're going to have to instead get out of the throttle and let you on the outside have the upper hand. It's the opposite to most corners. We want to be on the inside. That corner you want to be on the outside going in, just because it's so dangerous on the inside.
100%. And this is the thing as well. When you look at the off goes Tim Watson. Floodgates open. He loses 3 spots there through that moment. It's interesting, this circuit. It is fraught with danger all over the place, as we've already seen. Some of these guys falling out the hard way. There goes Brett Allen. And David Christensen as well. Allen was off the road too.
I think
Christensen took the 14th, and Allen's off the road just a little bit further up the road. So Christensen went at the exit of the left hand of the hairpin, and Allen went almost simultaneously up at the dogleg. Watch this. There we go. That's a strange one. That's a strange one for Allen.
Wasn't in answer to your question, Kai, who asked why we're not showing the pros. We're planning to show the pros for the second race, and we're showing the amateurs for race 1. So the servers have been offset for 5 minutes to allow us to switch between the servers in between the 2 races. So you should see. Right now we're covering the amateur split, but for the next race of the night we'll be covering the pros.
I will take an extra 5 minutes of being able to catch my breath as well, Liam, after what GT4 dished up earlier. Geez. 5 of 13 here at the Hockenheim ring. Luke Hay the leader, Adam Chiplin second. And you go back to Kelvin Little, William Yarwood and Adam Holland, and then Rhys Dickerson, Tim Fuge, Chuk Fung Wong, Brian Bullock and Matt Schmidtke in the top 10. It's interesting too, watching the early stages. It'll be the same case in the pros in the second race, just how slow some of them have to navigate their way through that hairpin at the end of the back straight. Fastest point of the circuit into the biggest braking point of the lap as well. Pull it up and get it through the last corner of the circuit, but some of those guys are going through there at crawling speed because they're either side by side or they're balked or they're backed up by other cars that they're in battle with. So you've got to show a little bit of patience, a little bit of maturity here at this racetrack to get the job done. And it will be a little bit Mickey Mouse and tedious there at points. But if you persevere with it, you reap the reward at the end. Here comes Fung Wong in 8th place at the moment, all over the back of Tim Fuge. Rhys Dickerson out just up above these guys on the leaderboard, just there at the top, a shot now. He was, you couldn't see him for the fact that Fuge was there a moment ago. Direct toe, but then he moved across to cover off Fung Wong. So just up there in the distance, can they maintain the slipstream here and go with Dickerson? Fuge, Fung Wong, almost SMS and Fuge here. Dickerson just ahead, breathing slightly easier for the minute. Down they come to the hairpin. Big send from Fuge. Trying to get by Dickerson. Fung Wong gives him a nudge on the exit and balks himself in the process. So all of a sudden, Fuge is out chasing Dickerson again, and Fung Wong is now somewhat relying on those two to engage in a little bit of a scrap here, Liam, to gain that little time buffer that he's just lost back.
Yeah, Fung Wong doing everything right there up until about the midpoint of the corner where he couldn't get the up and under on Tim Fuge ahead, and he kept his foot in it. He had committed to getting on the accelerator early, and he didn't change his mind. Decided to still get on the accelerator early, and what that meant is he just hadn't reacted to Tim Fuge ahead, and he just tapped him in the back, and that's cost him a bit of time, but as quickly he got back on the tail of him because he's much faster for that last sector. We saw it last lap when we were on board. He was really quick going into that first right-hander, carried a lot more speed and actually had to check himself up to stop himself from hitting Tim Fuge. So you do believe that Chuck Fung Wong's got better pace. That's what we've seen from the last lap. He was faster around the end of the lap. He was faster in the middle of the lap. Set himself up for a manoeuvre at the hairpin, but just couldn't quite pull off. And I'll be interested to see if he tries the same thing again or whether he goes for a different tactic. One of the things he could have done is going into the hairpin. You saw he pulled out late and gave himself the widest possible entry, which is great for getting the up and under, right? Absolutely textbook. The other alternative would have been to pull out a bit early, get alongside Tim Fuge ahead, but keep him narrow, pin him to that narrow line, but let him know you're there and put him on the defensive rather than letting him think about the attack on Rd-6, because that was what called him out in the end, is that Tim Fuge launched the attack on Rd-6, so Rd-6 was on the outside. Tim Fuge came in. Oh, it's Calvin Little, and that's Adam Chapman. Is it? Who's he touched?
Calvin Little got sandwiched there because he walked on the exit. He had Yarwood on one side and Chiplin on the other. Oh, we'll need to see a replay of that, please, Adam Lamus. Chiplin, he was in the wars last week at Zandvoort. He couldn't take a trip last week. And now, all of a sudden, he's found himself in the wars again. Just lit it up a little bit too quickly. Too enthusiastically here on the exit of the hairpin. He squeezed down the inside in the first instance, then ran it wide, caught the curb, gone. See you later. Chiplin, I don't think Chiplin will have a case to answer for there because the back was going out from Holland's car. Sorry, I've just had a brain fade. From Calvin Little's car as he was going round. So it really, unfortunately, sandwiched the car there of Chiplin, and he had nowhere to go. But now the shortfall of that is that Chiplin is persevering with a damaged car.
A lot of damage.
Yeah, he's right, left hand down a little bit though.
Yeah, he's got a lot of damage.
Late place as a result of that, boys.
There goes Matt Smitke. And he's about to lose position to Brian Bullock, who's really slow going into the first corner. He's got no confidence in that car, and I think he's going to struggle to hold on to the top 10 here. Particularly with 6 laps to go, it's just too long. He's going to have to try and get into pit lane. I think hopefully they can do something about that, because otherwise he's going to find another track. As we return to the battle, Chuck Fung Wong, who is behind Tim Fuge, who is himself chasing Rhys Dickinson in that line of side hustle racing cars, which is not going to make calling that battle any easier. But what we can do is call this battle to Chuck Fung Wong and Tim Fuge, because they do have to call cars, and I think that's Chuck Fung Wong into the back of Tim Fuge for the 3rd time, because they definitely look like contact.
If it's any consolation, at least the side hustle guys, they've all got different coloured wheels, so he's got to learn which wheels who.
Yes, green, white, and red by the looks of it.
Yeah,
so red is Tim Fuge.
Yeah, black, green, orange, and white.
White is Rhys Dixon, red's Calvin Little. No, green's Calvin Little.
Yeah, black would be Adam Lee Holland.
Black would be Adam Lee Holland. Thanks for pointing that out. Oh, who's that? That's Neil Gladwin. He's found the wall. He's ended up facing the wrong way, reversed into the wall, and he's going to get back on track nice and safely. But that's not going to make the car handle any better. So don't be surprised if we see more spins from him to be when he tries to load up that back end for the first time after that incident. Watching Adam Chiplin now coming under pressure. He's falling out of the top 10. That's Ben Woods getting past, and is he going to follow? Yes, David Christensen, who's recovering from his own issue earlier in the race, getting past him as well.
Disaster for Chiplin, to be fair, boys, because we're on lap 9 of 13. It's top 10 invert at the moment. Birchnell sits in that position. Ahead of, 2.5 seconds ahead of Christensen, Woods, Chiplin, Heaney and Francone. Now that's the problem. Top 10 invert. Those guys are all on the outer at the moment, so they've made a rod for their own back by running into trouble in this race.
Neil got beached as per
the next race. Yes, he did. He certainly did. So Adam Lee Holland in 3rd place at the moment. Yarwood 2nd. Just up ahead of us.
I'm actually surprised. I thought that Yarwood was going to get the most damage of that, because he was one hit pretty hard. Yeah. But poor old Chiplin's been unlucky there to be the one with the late steering. So
Luke Hay, of course, the leader, and out to the tune of 6.2 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, just quickly. Off track goes Stephen Birchnell. Greg Padgett goes through to 17th. How it happened.
Just Audi doing Audi things.
the old wood.
Yeah, no mystery to how he did that.
So Kelvin Little for an unsafe rejoin is going to get a warning there. The unsafe rejoin with Adam Chiplin, and
Chiplin's behind the bullet.
it'll be off, and not surprisingly, Chiplin comes into the lane to fix the damage on that car. He had no choice in the end. So Kelvin Little's warning will be a little comfort to Adam Chiplin at this point in time. Greg Heaney sits there in 12th. Ben Woods is 1.5 seconds up the road. David Christensen another 1.8 seconds up from that. And this is Pete Matson going round in a similar fashion to what we saw from Birchnell a moment ago.
That's a shame. Matson had a decent race in the GT4s, made a bunch of positions, not having as much luck in the GT3s. It's his second race of free tonight. We now watch the side hustle racing gang with Adam Lee Holland ahead of Calvin Little, Reese Dixon, and then Tim Fuge. With Chuck Van Wong still trying to put on the pressure at the back of this pack, unable to find a way past. And now we switch over to James Francone, who's made a habit of coming for the field in the few rounds that he's been in the GT3 Championship with us, in that striking fully Italian Lamborghini Ferrari, which is just a beautiful thing to see on the road. And it's no different today. He's up 5 spots from starting with 18th to 13th, and not far off the top 10. Although with only 4 laps to go, I don't see him quite making it into the reverse grid positions. And the next car ahead of him is Greg Heaney, who is also having a decent race. He's up 2 spots, starting 14th, and is currently running in 12th spot. Who's that off the track? That's Brian Bullock.
Brian Bullock drops out of the top 10. That allows Ben Woods into the top 10, so too David Christensen. So it has implications for Brian Bullock's second race, because he was sitting inside the top 10 until that. That was a fairly good drift until it came up short. If he could have kept that drifting, he might have got away with it, but no. The Beaver had other irons.
As Beamers often do, let's face it. 3 laps to go, Luke Hay is comfortable as you like out front, 7 seconds ahead. Fastest lap by 7/10, absolutely dominating the field in race 1, and it would be interesting to watch him coming from 10th spot in race 2, assuming that he can hold on for the win. But that's not what we're going to do. We're going to swap over to the Pro League for the next race, and Adam Chiplin's having a crash, having got his damage fixed, returns to the circuit. Probably decided to absolutely go for it, see what positions he can get. Doesn't matter if you spin, just use all the pace you got in the tank. And let's have a look what's happened here. Yeah, gets on the curb and settles the car, spins into the wall. Easy to do when you're pushing. I think we'll forgive him that one, given how his race came undone through no fault of his own. Just a innocent bystander in an earlier incident. And now we're watching Neil Gladwin. He had a spin earlier, and that's seen him down in 18th spot, although still 2 spots up from where he qualified, so I doubt he'll be too disappointed. And he's looking to make it one better by getting the better out of Stephen Birchnell.
Kelvin was wide then. I'm not sure, he might have escaped the slow down, but it's very easy to slow down in that last section of the stadium, so he might have got away with it there, but still holds his 4th place.
Yeah, I think we'll find out when he comes down this next straight, because that would be where you'd give it up on the run down into the hairpin.
So we're on lap 11, 11.5 to go. Sorry, on lap 12, 11 gone, 2 to go. And as soon as we're done here, we make a pit stop of our own. We jump out of the AM server into the Pro server. We hit the gas and get going for the feature race this evening. And now have a look at the side-by-side battle here. James Francone going to 11th. Greg Heaney had no choice but to tuck back in there. Will he have another lunge and try and get 11th back as they get to the hairpin? Yes, he will. He has a lunge. Diving. Can't get it done. Wide goes Francone. Heaney on the tight line on the exit. Can't get it done in the drag race. Up towards the arena section. So Francone holds on to 11th. If Ben Woods or David Christensen make a mistake ahead of him, he might find his way in a 10th spot for the invert race in a few moments' time. Luke Hay will lead it by 8 seconds. Coming through the stadium section to see the white flag and take the last lap board. and commence the final lap of this race. Yarwood and Holland deep in battle.
Holland's actually started to close the gap here.
It's 0.3 of a second as we start the last lap. There's, oh, geez, Barney actually in the flag stand for a change. Very nicely.
He's learning.
Actually doing his job. Yeah, I know. I must have been told that if he doesn't start doing his job properly and from the designated position, he'd get the sack. Hay, Yarwood, Holland, Little, Dickerson, the top 5. If you haven't already got it on your bingo card, add Subtle Diggett, Barney the Flagman to your bingo cards, ladies and gentlemen, because we always make sure we get a cheap jab in at him. Final lap here. Hay, Yarwood, Holland, Little, Dickerson and Fuge. It's a 5-way fight for second. Oh, Greg Heaney's come undone. Greg Heaney's grass cutting, lawn mowing across the dirt and gone. Smashes the wall. And Henry comes up short. Stadium arena section for the final time. Copy that. We'll see if we can help you out with that in the next race, mate. Don't worry. Stick around. There's still one more to come. So Greg Heaney's still off track at the moment. Drops down to 20th. Chiplin is 21st. Johnson is 22nd. No finish for Pete Matson. No finish for Trent Allen or Sean Rees. They're all out for the night. Last turn, checkered flag. We haven't seen much of this guy because essentially he started, he cleared off, he checked out and cleaned up convincingly. Luke Hay gets the job done. Race 1 of round 6 of Waste Options GT3M. Second to Yarwood, holds off Holland, Dickerson, Little and Fuge. Then back to Funglong, Schmidtke, Christensen and Woods. And Benny Woods will get the invert, the pole position for race 2. So it's always, look, don't get me wrong, I as a commentator, you don't like seeing annihilations like what we just saw from Luke Hay. We're used to seeing them enough from Matty Dench as it is in the pro split. But when you've had a night where we've barely checked in with you, it means that you've somehow kept your nose clean, stayed out of trouble and been very lonely. And that's exactly what he's done. And now we can celebrate, and rightly so. Oh, that was very nicely done. Quickly through the rest of the results. Francone, McGrath, Watson, Bullock, Paget, Birchnell, Bradbury, Gladwin, Zamora and Chiplin took us from 11th to 20th. Heaney and Johnson will round out the finishing order. And that's all she wrote for GT3M here at the Hockenheim Ring in race 1. We'll bring you the results from race 2 a little bit later on. We need to take the quickest of breaks right now, though, ladies and gentlemen. On the other side, we are going to the pro split. We're checking in with those guys. Same track, same format, but it's race 2. It's the feature race. It's 37 minutes, and it's a vitally important round of the championship if anyone wants any hope in hell of catching Matthew Dench there. Luke Hay gets the job done here. Francone narrowly misses out on the invert. Ben Woods gets that. A quick break. Back to Hockenheim on the other side, but it will be for the pro feature of round 6 of Waste Options GT3 Monday Night Motorsport across the platforms, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Don't go away. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia or indeed the world. Platforms Gentlemen Sim Racing Club, Monday Night Motorsport. Of course, this is night 1 in week 6 of term 2. And this is the main course and dessert, I guess you could call it tonight, because the entree was a whopping GT4 thriller, an instant classic from Laguna Seca. The main course was GT3M. Now we go into dessert with GT3 Pro and their feature race from this round of the championship. We're at the Hockenheim circuit in Germany. There are the qualifying results for you. Brock Kelly. Good to see Brock Kelly back in the server. From Richard Mitchum, Simon Cox, Matty Dench, Glenn Arnott and Oscar Glissett. Nick Wood, Wayne Hewitt, Jonathan Hooper and also Rob Hill made up the top 10. Look at the margins there in the qualifying times, though. Just extraordinary. And then, surprise, surprise, look, he found his way to the top step of the summit in race 1. Brock Kelly down in 20th. 4 laps down is a big talking point. Matt Stewart, 2 laps down in 19th is also a big talking point. Not the biggest field tonight, only 23 of them. Matty Dench by 1.7 in the end. From Simon Cox, Oscar Glissett, Nick Wood, Wayne Hewitt, Rob Hill, Richard Mitchum, Jonathan Hooper, John Jennings, and Dave Riddell, who will lead the field to green in just a few minutes' time in the second race here. Championship looks like this coming into this 6th round. 3:31 for Matty Dench. He's 89 points clear of Simon Cox, Wayne Hewitt, Shane Clancy, Richard Mitchum, Nick Wood, Matt Stewart, Daniel Birchnell, and Glenn Arnott making up the top 9 there. Oscar Glissett is 10th. Lamborghini heavily represented there. 3 of them, 3 Bimmers, a Porsche, a Ferrari, and 2 Mercs as well. Quickly before we get going, let's bring Liam Banks back in. Can't look past Luke Hay for driver of the night as far as GT3M is concerned. We'll bring the results of the second race to everybody in just a moment. But this GT3 Pro race promises to be an absolute beauty because, again, similar to Zandvoort, not the easiest circuit to overtake on. So these guys are going to have to work hard and maybe use strategy to their advantage to try and bump their way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful thing is we've got the likes of Matty Dench starting in 10th because he won the first race. But you got Brock Kelly, who won qualifying and evidently had some sort of misfortune in race 1 starting from the back. So we've got multiple stories, multiple cars coming out of position all the way through the field. So it should be action from the front to the back, from green to checkered flag.
Just actually picking up on that at the moment, I'm going to keep an eye on the back end of town here because Stephen Gallacher has taken to the grid. Adam Proctor, Brock Kelly, Matt Stewart yet to join us. So at my count, there's 19. Yes, 19 cars on the grid. And Matt Stewart, Brock Kelly, and Adam Proctor, along with Sam Muir, will be non-starters here. So a fairly depleted field already, with only 19 starters. And see, this is exactly what we talk about. Yes, the numbers fluctuate, but it's usually for either race format or track disdain, in the case of Hockenheim, as to why we do see such varying numbers. There are those that turn up no matter what the track, and then there are those that say, you know what, I could do without the lift in the blood pressure. Second race of round 6 of Waste Options GT3 Pro coming to your way from the Hockenheim circuit in Germany. Let's go! The opportunity to hit the gas and get going and lead the field clean to the turn 1. Wayne Hewitt gets through, up on the inside of Rob Hill into 5th spot. Nick Wood, Oscar Glissett, Simon Cox and Matty Dench just easing into it now as they head to turn 3.
Yeah, Rob Hill took a lot of curb at the first corner. I was waiting for his name to start tumbling down the order, but he managed to make it work and has managed to keep hold of 5th place from Wayne Hewitt. Although behind him, there's a hell of a battle going on with Matty Dench in the back of it. And ahead of him, we got Simon Cox, Oscar Glissett, Nick Wood, and Wayne Hewitt side by side. And then Rob Hill just ahead of them in the silver and pink car, grey and pink car, we'll call it. And car's going quite cautious through that, causing quite a bottleneck. And quite a bit of Constantino effect. Matty Dench getting in position, and now as the Oscar Glissett with Nick Wood and Simon Cox to lose out.
Nicely done. Side by side, 2 by 2 they go. Cox and Dench. Dench down the inside to 9th. Got the job done. Next target, Nick Wood. Dave Riddell leads the thing. John Jennings, Richard Mitchum. Now, the question is, how long will the pack remain backed up for? because normally it's a trait of these invert races, isn't it, Banksy, where you end up with the likes of Dave Riddell dragging the train along because either there's not enough by the way of overtaking opportunities, or they're happy to sit behind him and play the straight game and let him drag the train along, and they can save fuel while he's sucking in the big one, so to speak. But it usually does bench the pack up and make for good racing, but also the potential for drama as well.
It certainly does, and you mentioned fuel there, which is going to be a key factor. We've already seen one driver tonight try to make the one-stopper work, and it would have worked if not for a small mistake with a big consequence on the final lap. And you're looking at the likes of Matty Dench, and you're wondering, if they don't move up the field, are they fuel saving? Because we just don't know. But what we do know is they have the pace. So if they're not moving up the field, it will be some sort of fuel saving. And at the moment, he's still in ninth place. Doesn't look to be putting that much pressure on the car ahead. So it does make you wonder if strategy already is starting to come into play here tonight.
This track is a lot different to Laguna Seca though. There isn't as much off throttle area as Laguna Seca, so higher 100% throttle percentage means a little bit harder to fuel save that distance.
This is absolutely true. Laguna Seca, quite a few heavy braking zones where you can fuel save. Applying much harder, but we've seen some wizardry from these drivers in the past, so I'm not going to rule it out yet. Watch here, Matty Dench, he's in ninth place, and he's just behind Nick Wood, who has lost the position from the start. So just ahead of him, Oscar Glasses going on the inside of Jonathan Hooper. So Jonathan Hooper's in the Red Bull liveried Ferrari. He's going to come under pressure from Nick Wood behind him. We'll just have a look at... Oh! Oscar Glasser go wide. That would have been a bit slow down. Didn't see quite how wide. We got to it a little bit late. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that. Rob Hill puts in fastest lap of the race. He's on a 1:38.79. A couple of tenths faster than anybody else. And he's in fourth place currently. Not seeing the gap at the front that we're used to seeing in the GT3 races. We usually see whoever gets out of front, them or maybe them in one of a car, breaks free. That's not happening here. Dave Riddell's got a second on the guy in second place, which is not far at all. But Richard Mitchum's right behind him, which is the battle we're watching on screen now. Richard Mitchum, not quite close enough to go up the... Oh, he's going to go up the inside. No, got a bit excited there. A bit of a trick of the camera angle. Deciding not to go up the inside there. Going to sit behind him instead. Battle Pack's behind them, though, as four cars try to go through side by side. Here's Glenn Arnott. He's going up the inside of Braden O'Loughlin. And if he can hold... No. Because if he can hold on the inside line, it would have the inside of the next corner, would have got the move done, but just didn't get the traction out of the corner. Really hard to get traction if you stay to the inside at that hairpin. And he's not close enough to make what has been a favoured overtaking move in the last race. The move down the inside into that corner, which then sets you up for this corner and forces the car on the outside to yield.
Action of plenty in the early stages. 1:38.79 for Rob Hill, the fastest number of the night thus far. Grissett, Wood in behind him, Drench and Cox dragging along, or tagging along I should say, for good measure. Then Jonathan Hooper down in 10th place, down 7 spots thus far. Not much in the way of movement thus far. 1 for Richard Mitchell, 2 for Wayne Hewitt, 2 for Oscar Grissett. But Riddell, Jennings, Hill, Wood, Cox all sit where they started a few moments ago. We're on to lap 4 of 23 at the Hockenheim Ring, and now Nick Wood, the fastest number of the night, at 1:38.58. But as the race warms up and the likes of Dench find clear air, that number should come down a tad. Gallagher. Oh, jeez. Just balked up, backed up, checked up.
Yeah, really clumsy there. Now, what's riding on board with Richard Mitchell? These onboards brought to you by sponsors Massage Motors. One of a host of sponsors, of course, the broadcast for this series brought to you by Waste Options, and they also sponsor the GT4, so they're our Monday Night Heroes. And then other club sponsors are Rolling Screen, and they include Logging Systems, who are bringing you the GT3 Endurance Championship on Sunday, 4 hours of Road Atlanta. Almost said Zandvoort there, don't know why that was in my head, but Road Atlanta, 4 hours, that will be phenomenal. Also got flash graphics, student finance insurance as well, Blackout Electrical Solutions, and a few others across the screen. Nick Wood now doing the fastest lap. Interesting that they're all so evenly paced. just in the last 3 laps, we've seen the fastest lap go to 3 different cars, which just shows you that the cars, they're not in pace order. If they're in pace order, you're not seeing that. What you are seeing is cars all backed up behind one another. When they get a little bit of space because they made a little bit of mistake or something and that gap has opened up, they're able to put in the lap time and close back up, but just not able to make a maneuver. And what that means is that the pit stop strategy is going to be absolutely crucial, because if you can gain 2 or 3 positions and not have to fight for on track, that's going to be money in the bank. So it could be crucial, even if you can't get to the end and everybody does have to stop. That difference in fuel load, that couple of seconds you save in the pits, could be crucial here tonight. Now fastest lap going all the way down to 9th place, Simon Cox with a 1:38.53.
Riddell, Jennings, Mitchum, Hewitt and Hill the top 5. And at the moment, it's a racing 3 at the front. Riddell, Jennings and Mitchum. Hewitt and Hill slowly but surely catching that train. We go back to Matthew Broome there in 11th. You're watching him in the orange car. Following Jonathan Hoopin through. They've got a little bit of breathing space back to Daniel Hill, Braden O'Loughlin, then Glenn Arnott, John Wright, Alan Dawson, Stephen Gallacher, Shane Bonici and David Johnson. Down 2 spots thus far. This is what happened to the old GSRC club president. Yep, what's said about that one, the better, not his finest moment.
He's going to get a penalty for that too.
He will. Absolutely he will. He'll have to. Down the inside. Dench to 7th. Very nicely done. Saw his opportunity and took it. Didn't wait for opportunity number 2. Took the first one. Gets on the inside of Nick Wood. Gets up to 7th. Now Riddell, Jennings, Mitchum. They've got a second on Hewitt, who's dragging the rest of the train along. But if Hewitt can latch onto Mitchum, Jennings and Riddell, we could have ourselves a classic on our hands. Then the other point as well is if Mitchum can remain that extra second up the road and then find a way by Jennings and Riddell, all of a sudden he's going to put himself in a very sweet position as far as this race is concerned. But never underestimate what gamesmanship Danny Dench is trying to pull off here as well. We've seen it so many times, the way in which he leads these people into some sort of insecurity and some sort of uncertainty and some sort of disbelief as to how well they're going against him, and then all of a sudden you get to the pit window and bang, he comes out with a 5-second advantage. Keep an eye on him. He'll be up to something, no doubt. He's scheming as we speak. Mitchum can't get it done, and got compromised on the run through the corner there as well, as John Jennings slowly but surely slammed the door in his face.
Watching here what happened to Matthew Broome.
Oh no, smashes into the wall as Matthew Broome. And that will, and actually, yeah, we'll need to clarify the pronunciation on that one, because the way I'm reading it is Broome as in the Western Australia city, the Western Australian town. So B-R-O-O-M-E, yeah, we'll wait and see what he says about that, but that was what happened. And Richard Mitchum has found a way by John Jennings. Wayne Hewitt went with him, so the floodgates have opened and Jennings has all of a sudden fallen to 4th. Riddell is still holding up top spot. 1.6 clear of Mitchum, then Hewitt, Jennings still was it Dench, Wood and Cox. Mitchum slotted it down the inside, but he put too much pressure on it. Essentially, Jennings cracked under the pressure and ran wide. And now all of a sudden, he's vulnerable with Hill, Grissett, Dench, Wood and Cox breathing down his neck. It's an 8-car freight train. Have a look at that, ladies and gentlemen, as the lights go ablaze. Can we have a look at our updated track conditions, please, Adam Lavis? Because we haven't done that since we jumped into this server. Beautiful time of the evening. Have a look at that, Queensland. That's what daylight saving looks like. 24 degrees, I think it is. The screen's just a little bit blurry on my end.
24 air, 27 track.
24 air, 27 track. So we're in the 20s, which is good to see, as they make their way through once more. Lap 7 at 23. Nice to have you along for the ride. Oh, jeez. Now, Matthew Broome on the tow rope in pit lane has been for 2 minutes and 12 seconds. We'll keep an eye And this is going to fill up that bingo card that we were trying to fill up earlier. We'll wait and see what sort of invoice David Johnson has to pay when he comes to pit lane after that.
He ended up just doing
transit down.
He ended up just doing a drive-through, so he did an 18-second transit.
Okay. So yeah, he ended up just driving through the pit lane and coming back out. But
surprisingly,
will they fine him for that? Will they whack him across the knuckles for that?
Well, so far he hasn't been back in, so he might have stuck away with that.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, no, he didn't, because by venturing down pit lane in the first place, he made it run for his own back. Down the inside, Nutty Dench to 6th. Gets by Oscar Glissett. Makes light work of him at turn 3. David Johnson now in pit lane at the end of lap 7, so this could be what we were waiting for, Adam Lavis. Keep an eye on that.
Because if he did get a penalty, he'd have 3 laps to serve it.
So if he can fuel up and get home from here with, what's that, 25 minutes to go, it's a fair effort. It'll be a 16-lap stint. And it's done. We're waiting for the feeding stationary now for 17, 18, 19. Yeah, it's an invoice, all right. 21, 22, 23. Just keep watching the clock tick away. Watch as though time is standing still for him. Oh, geez, it'll feel like an eternity there at the moment. Dave Riddell under pressure now from Richard Mitchum. Dave Riddell under pressure from Richard Mitchum. Dave Riddell lets his teammate through. Mitchum now in the clear air. Oh, nicely done from Richard Mitchum. Slowly but surely chipped away at the deficit. Finds a way by Dave Riddell. Now can go about trying to put some breathing space between himself and that guy on your screen. Middle of the shot, Matty Dench.
Tell you what, you talk about time going slowly. Oh, who's that?
That's John Jennings. John Jennings has got her out of the final corner. Drops 3, 4, 5, 6 positions.
He almost beats it too. That was lucky.
Almost found that tyre wall, that red tyre wall on the inside. Out comes David Johnson a lap down after a pit stop of 1 minute and 1 second.
Talk about time going slowly. I bet time is not going more slowly for anyone. Slower for anyone than Rob Hill, who's trying to defend from my dent. That is a position that is going to make time go very slowly. You're going to be questioning every single decision because you know anything less than perfection is not enough to keep this absolute monster behind it.
Mitchum, Riddell, Hewitt, Hill, Dench, Glissett, Cox, Wood, Hooper, Hill, Arnott, the top 11 at the moment. But it is still a 5-car freight train all over the back of Rob Hill at the moment. And it's led by that charge to find a way by Rob Hill is led by Matty Dench. No bigger target on Rob Hill's back at the moment than the number 1. The 5-time GT3 champion. He's on a charge here at the Hockenheim circuit. He'll try to make that car of his as wide as humanly possible. But he will only keep Dench at bay for so long. We're on the cusp of that fuel window. We are on the cusp of that, yes, you can stop now and make it home. That critical lap that we often talk about. So will Dench try to one-up the competition and go for the reverse strategy? No, he doesn't, but into pit lane there, behind him, went Oscar Glissett.
Keep an eye on that time, because I think he might have touched the green, which is...
I think you're right. Oscar Glissett, he'll be hoping that he didn't bring himself undone there by the pit lane entry rules. Set by iRacing, not by us. Complain to them.
And it's one of those things too, like realistically,
it's electric track.
It should just be a drive-through or a 5-10 second penalty, but they give you like 40 seconds. It's ridiculous.
Not a fair reflection of real world rules, I agree with you. So Glissett in and out 12.1, so we just got away with it. Oscar Glissett stops in and out in 12.1 and Glenn Arnott in 13 seconds. John Jennings is in pit lane now as well. Dench down the inside. Dench to 4th. Just when I was about to make the point, let's wait and see if he opts for clear air and opts for a reverse strategy of sorts. No, he finds a way to clear air on his own accord.
But, and it's safe to say he's not fuel saver, and he's actually doing a sprint in the sprint.
Exactly. And he has to do it.
Knowing him, he'll still just do a little bit here and there, just to shorten his pit stop, but he'll be basically going pretty much flat chat.
Absolutely.
yeah, he won't be costing himself any time. I'll be doing it in the places where it doesn't really make a difference. Simon Cox now getting past Rob Hill.
Multi 6,426.
Very nice, very nice. I've lost words, I've got to come back from that. Nick Wood losing 2 positions at that lap, looking like he might lose a third soon. Jonathan Hooper now putting him under pressure in the Beamer. How are we looking for the ranking of the cars at the moment? Are these the top Mercedes? I believe they are. That's all. We've got 2 Porsches up front.
Ooh, yep.
Mitchell
2
and
Lambo.
Riddell. 2 Lambos, and then a Mercedes, BMW, and another Mercedes, and then Jonathan Hooper is the lead Ferrari.
So in the top 11, you've got Audi, Porsche, Mercedes, Ferrari, BMW, and Lamborghini. 6 different manufacturers in the top 11, and now look at Hill trying to squeeze down the inside. Hill trying to get by Wood on the inside of the hairpin. Gotcha, but he goes a little bit wide, and Wood performs the up and under to perfection. So BMW v Mercedes to the arena section. 2 German brands on the German circuit. And Wood holds on again. Wood survives the onslaught for now. How good's the racing been tonight?
It was good to see the back end of...
value for money tonight, Liam Banks. Have a look at this.
So you wanted to see the back end of Rob Hill's Mercedes, then snaking under the brakes as he thought about trying to go up the inside into the left-hander, but unable to do it. That tells you everything you need to know about how hard these drivers are pushing, because the body language of the cars is definitely that of cars that are being pushed here tonight, which is absolutely lovely to see. What else would be lovely to see is if any of these drivers pull into the pits this lap. And indeed they haven't. I thought Rob Hill, having just lost a few positions, might have decided to dive in the pits, give himself a bit of a mental reset and come back out, but he decided to continue with his strategy and continue on. However, Jonathan Hooper and Alan Dawson have both pulled into the pits. Be interested to see where they come out in relation to Oscar Gleisert, who was the first of that lead group to pit. So that will tell us a lot about the pace that Oscar Gleisert's been running in the meantime while we focus on this battle out front. And we saw a couple laps ago Matty Dench get into about 3 seconds clean air. Well, he's got clean air a little longer because he's wheeled that in on Wayne Hewitt ahead.
Yeah, so Dench not mucking around here. 138.5. 138.5, the fastest number of the night thus far, as he closes in at a rapid rate of knots on Wayne Hewitt rather. Glenn Arnott has also punched in his PB at the night, 138.76. That last time around, Wayne Hewitt and Dave Riddell are under serious pressure here.
Did you slap come up purple on your screen? Because it's only on white on my screen.
It's only green on mine.
So yeah,
it's not the fastest.
Yeah, so it's not officially. He must have gone off track.
No, Simon Cox has done a 38.53 previously.
Oh yeah.
That, and it's not even. Actually, that's not even showing the purple box next to it.
It only shows for the lap it was on. Afterwards, it falls off as the other laps.
Copy. All right, so Dench still has 2/200ths of a second to find. What's the bet he finds them after the pit stop? Through they come, the stadium section. Crowd on the edge of their seats and absolutely packed into the grandstands here tonight.
The critical thing is, last 2 laps he scored almost a second up on Mitchell, so he's already pulling that gap back.
Yep, bad luck, Richard. Just when you thought he might have a chance with some clear air.
Another quarter of a second there.
Oh dear. Hewitt, Riddell under pressure from Dench. In comes John Wright to complete his pit stop. That'll mean the top 10 at this point in time, after 12 laps with 11 to go, will be yet to stop. So the field far from cleansed yet. We've got a range of different strategies playing out here at the moment. I hope you enjoy Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport and the GT3 Pro Split from the Hockenheimring in Germany.
Interesting to point out, Oscar Gleisert, who was our earliest pitter from the lead group, easily coming out ahead of Alan Dawson and John Wright. Indeed, even Glenn Arnott got ahead of them. So that was quite cool, which indicates that Oscar Gleisert may very well be in the race for the pointy end once the pit stops have all been completed.
He's currently 32 seconds off the lead, so you're just going to see where that puts him back once the leaders pit. Yeah, probably because the transit time is 32 seconds, so he's probably, you got a minus whatever time it takes to do the normal stuff, so that's probably how far behind he is.
Yeah,
So
I
he's
agree.
probably about 5-10 seconds off the lead overall.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere towards that top 5 battle, I think.
Through they come once more. Hewitt.
Oh, that's close.
Oh, geez.
They're flirting with. They are flirting with that penalty.
Yeah, they are flirting with the limits there. There's no doubt about that. And flirting with danger. Oh boy. Through we go once more. What a great night we've had here on the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club. Drama aplenty, action aplenty, entertainment plus. If you're not enjoying this one,
That's
go
a
and
clean
check the
entry.
pod because it's very difficult.
So there you go, Dave Riddell and Simon Cox coming out just ahead of Oscar Gleiser, 2 seconds in it.
Oh. Denchi had a little bit of a look on Wayne Hewitt there.
I think it's booked him.
Run off the corner and tucks back in.
Surely he'll follow him through here and then dive up the inside into the 90-degree left-hander.
No, not yet. Not yet. On the exit, the up and under. No, he's happy to follow for the moment. Sun setting in the distance. How good's a late afternoon summer evening in Germany? Oh, a spring evening in this case. We're not quite in summer yet. Right on board with Matty Dance. Just look at the CV. 5 Porsche Elite Cups, 5 GT3 Pro Championships, 1 in GT4, 1 in GTE. There's not much this guy hasn't ticked in the way of boxes in this club.
I think he's got a couple of other ones that I can't fit on
dives
there
to
too.
pit lane. Dench has clear air. Mitchum dives to pit lane as well. Sorry, Adam, you were saying?
I think he's got a couple of like little ones, like sort of little support class ones, which which obviously couldn't fit on him.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. You'd almost need a new banner, a new page. Mitchum, Hewitt, Hill, Wood, and Hill all in. Rob and Daniel Hill, both on pit road. Braden O'Loughlin as well. So the only driver in the field yet to complete his stop. He has to. And Mitchum returns from the circuit in second spot. It's a race off pit road. Have a look at that between Rob Hill and Oscar Glissett. No, sorry, Nick Wood, my apologies.
And Nick
around the outside to go to 6th. And have a look at how tight those three are going to be bunched.
And Nick was up on the jack, so I think he took a couple of tyres.
So,
he wouldn't have taken all 4 because all 4 cost you a bit more time than fuel.
That's fair. No surprise to see Denchi get this one out to 15 laps when everybody else has stopped at the latest 14, Liam.
Yeah, not surprised at all. Interesting to see that a bunch of cars pitting with 9 laps to go, and the first of our scheduled pit stops occurred on lap 9, which tells you that that's them running to just about empty, I would say. And those cars stopping on lap 9, that's where they calculated they could pit and make it to the end of the race. And of course, so this is just evidence that Matty Dance has done at least a little bit of fuel saving, as he always does and as we suspected earlier on.
We had 19 starters in this race, and I'm happy to report we've still got 19 running, boys. Matthew Broom's back out on the circuit after 8.5 minute pit stop, so he's 4.5 laps down, but he's still out there and still able to be classified if he finishes. Remember, Matty Denchi to pit lane now. The field will be cleansed. Denchi into pit lane. He'll get to 23 laps tonight, based on the numbers. We shouldn't go time certain here. Therefore, Matty Dench gets to 23. 75% marker is there for 18 laps. So both those guys fit in there at the moment. 4.5 laps down.
10.5 second stop.
John Jennings is about a lap and a half down on Dench. Make it 2 laps now.
I can't believe he's got him.
And Matty Dench with the up and under, with the 10-second stop and all, gets out in front of Richard Mitchum. And Mitchum must be scratching his head thinking, what the bloody hell have I got to do to beat this prick? He's saying, I'm sure of that at this point. Oh my goodness me, he's done it again. Matty Dench, the master class. Stroke of genius, if you don't mind. And he leads by the better part of 2/3 of a second. Now, I spoke too soon. John Jennings has just parked up for the night. So he was still out there at the start of lap 12, but he has parked up for the night, and this might explain why.
There's 2 instances had recently.
And that was the second one. Curtains, bang. Yeah. And with no fast repair left.
Shut
Jonathan Hooper
He's
having
gone
spin
deep.
into the stadium section.
Wall deep.
Pull it up some, well done.
That's like the Verstappen Brazil line.
Oh no. Matty Dench leads, Richard Mitchum second, Wayne Hewitt, Dave Riddell, Simon Cox, Oscar Blissett, Brent Rob Hill, Nick Wood, Glenn Arnott, Daniel Hill, Alan Dawson to top 11 here. We've got John Wright in 12th, we've got Jonathan Hooper, Stephen Gallagher, Braden O'Loughlin, Shane Benicci and David Johnson making up the running order at the moment. Jono's paid an invoice tonight in the form of a 1 minute stop and hold. 1:38.46 for Richard Mitchum. He's just one-upped everybody. Fastest lap of the night in Dench's toe. It's half a second the margin at the front end of town, and look at this battle for 11th. Dawson and Wright all over the back of Daniel Hill, who is 10th, holding down the last spot in the top 10 at the moment, which is of little significance now because there's no invert after this race. On the subject of that, 9 positions gained for Denchi, 3 for Hewitt and Glissett and Hill, 5 for Dawson, 6 for Arnott, 3 also for Wright, 8 for Stephen Gallagher. There goes Simon Cox in a rare, uncharacteristic mistake. 9th place for Coxie and walking to the finish line with a wounded car.
The 9th place, but now when he's got a wooden car, 8 laps is a long, 6 laps is a long way to go. If your car is damaged, we saw that earlier in the night with who was it in the race we called previously where it got damaged, and Chiplin,
Adam Chiplin
tried to go to the end and decided to give up on that because he was just losing too much time. And I tell you what, this race for the win is not over yet. It tends to be when Dench gets into the front, but Mitchum is showing incredible pace here.
The question is, like with Denchi was taking 3 seconds less fuel. Has he taken too much less fuel? Is he still got to fuel save a little bit?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me. So you've got an Italian manufacturer holding sway at the front end of town. You've got a German manufacturer in second. You've got Richard Mitchum punching out the fastest lap of the night at 1:38.39. You've got him on the ragged edge. You've got both these men on the absolute limiter. This is a toe-to-toe fight, the likes of which we rarely see in GT3 Pro. Mitchum to the inside at the hairpin. Dench is wide on the exit. Mitchum's going to the lead here potentially. Richard Mitchum, no, can't get it done on the exit. Tucks back in. And yet again, top spot eludes him for now. Down the inside at the arena section. Down the inside. Dench again runs it wide, intentionally so, to put himself on the right-hand side of the track for the next corner. Oh, beautiful racecraft from Denchy there. And Richard Mitchum giving him the big hurry up. All sorts of class being shown by both men at the top end of town. Phenomenal entertainment. Through the left-hander. Dench somehow holding on here. Richard Mitchum throwing everything at him. The kitchen sink and then some. In a toe-to-toe fight that we rarely see on a Monday night. 9 straight. 5 laps to go. A little over 22 kilometres of the Hockenheim Ring. Can Dench find a way right? Or will defensive genius win out again? Because if there's one guy that knows the tricks of the trade here, how to make that car as wide as possible, where to drive the car to keep the opposition at bay, it is the number one. You don't win 5 championships in this caper on this night of the week in this form of racing without knowing a thing or two. Mitchum to the inside to the hairpin. Mitchum to the inside, then he's centre deep, too deep, no. Has to back up and back out of it. Dench closes the door and will withhold the pressure for a little bit longer because Mitchum lost a little bit of time on the exit. The margin is 0.4 of a second. Dawson in 11th now, all over the back of Hill. Dawson going to follow Hill through. They're not duking it out for position just yet, but they are about to. Someone has to pull the trigger, but it's just a matter of when. Dawson wanted to on the exit, didn't get a good enough run, a clean enough exit off the corner. It invites right back into the fight as well. I'm going to be hoarse by the end of this, Liam Banks. Take over for a second, would you please?
You absolutely are. Alan Dawson in the middle of a sandwich here. Sandwiched between Daniel Hill and John Wright. Daniel Hill is in the grey and pink car. You've got Alan Dawson in the Riot Act racing car, and then in the Brum Motorsport car behind that you've got John Wright. Just to make it clear who the protagonists are in this fight, they're coming around to the final section of corners, this really tricky banked left-hander that you can get on the throttle earlier than you think, but you have to watch out because you can tend to get a bit of oversteer on the exit if you take liberties with it. You then got this really tricky double right-hander where you want to let your car run out wide in the middle to give yourself a better run onto the back straight. But if you go too wide, you will get a slowdown. So you have to pick how much you're going to flirt with that danger. This first corner, really, really fast. Looks really harsh when you approach it. It looks really, really tight, but you can carry so much speed for that just because that part is so gripped up. Dench with a big defend here on the inside will force him.
That's the closest they've come to making contact tonight. They very rarely exchange paint, those two. And now Rob Hill loses out to Nick Wood. Nick Wood finds a way by to go into P5. Dench still defending. Mitchum's wide. Mitchum's on the outside coming through the next corner. Can he get the up and under to the inside? Yes, he can. He's right there. Can he pour it down the inside deep enough? You betcha he can. Richard Mitchum has his nose in front of Hockenheim. Dench is still there hanging tough. They're side by side through the stadium section. Dench holds on again. Can you believe the intensity of the fight we're seeing at the front of the field here? Can you believe the quality of this edition of Monday Night Motorsport on the platform for the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, and Mitchum is throwing everything at it with 3 laps to go. Poor boy! Neither man can afford to put a foot wrong here. Class with a capital C. Mitchum looking the nose out yet again, but to no avail. Trouble further back in the pack for Nick Wood. Nick Wood and Rob Hill have come together. Oh boy. Simon Cox, Wayne Hewitt, Glenn Arnott, all beneficiaries of that. So too Oscar Glissett. Dave Riddell is third. I want that noted. He was 10th in the first race. And because of incidents like that and other things falling his way, Dave Riddell is third. And could well hold on to it. Rob Hill got sent packing by Nick Wood. But Dave Riddell has 3.6 seconds on Oscar Glissett, who has 5 on Glenn Arnott, who has 2 on Wayne Hewitt, who has Simon Cox breathing down his neck. Then that battle between Rob and Daniel Hill with Nick Wood sandwiched in the middle. But Dave Riddell is on track for, I reckon, a PB in GT3 Pro. Oh no, more trouble. That time Nick Wood's gone round again. Nick Wood in more trouble. The last couple of laps, he's been in the wars and then some. Dench still holding on by half a second to Mitchum. That is Alan Dawson now in the top 10. John Wright behind him, and Jonathan Hooper and Stephen Gallacher. The top 10 getting a real shake-up here by virtue of some shortcomings for a few different competitors. Matthew Broome back in pit lane, has been for a minute now. Was 4 laps down, needs to get back out on the racetrack. If he's to be classified, needs to get out there and get to 18. Otherwise he's going to fall short. 17 cars still out there. All 17 still on the lead lap, but David Johnson on the cusp of being caught by Dench and Mitchum.
And kind of disappointingly, the white flag's out next lap.
Yeah, I know. This race is just warming up. I think we are too, just slightly.
What do you mean kind of disappointingly? Bitterly disappointingly, I think you mean to say.
This has been one of the great races of the season. Matty Dench under the pump. The question is, did he sell himself short on the fuel fill? Or was it just class with a capital C yet again? He is withstanding the pressure from Richard Mitchum, who was throwing everything at him and then some. 0.4 the margin, 0.5. Dawson there, all over the back of Daniel Hill, with John Wright behind him. So they are still fighting it out for the last 2 spots in the top 10. Main straight, white flag, Dench and Mitchum are bringing it home. We're on the last lap. Can Dench withstand the pressure? Or will Richard Mitchum find a way by on the 17th or 18th attempt? To turn 3 they go, 4, then the run down, 5, and then the hairpin at 6.
Denji might have done enough here as long as he doesn't make a mistake.
He's done enough. He's just extended that buffer out to 5.
But this is definitely not over.
This battle far from over. Nor the battle with Simon Cox and Wayne Hewitt for 6th. Battles everywhere on the last lap at Hockenheim. Matty Dench withstanding the pressure of Richard Mitchum, who has the fastest lap of the night to his credit. 1:38.39. Can Dench find something on this last lap to snatch that away from him as well? You wouldn't put it past him. It wouldn't be the first time he's done it. Dawson there in 10th, still trying to find a way by Daniel Hill. Any one of these guys slip up and it has implications. Dench is into the stadium section for the final time. Then through that tight hairpin left-hander. Then through the dog leg. He's done it. He's done it again. Double delight in Dushland for Matthew Dench in the Lamborghini. The Italian mark wins on enemy territory. Dench does the double at Hockenheim. And misses out on the fastest lap of the race, but it matters very little. Mitchum, Dave Riddell, what a Herculean performance that was. Heroic stuff. Oscar Glissett in for 4th. Glenn Arnott, Wayne Hewitt, Simon Cox. But here come the rest of them. Rob Hill's going to hold on for 8. Daniel Hill somehow managing to withstand the pressure. 9th and 10th with Alan Dawson just there behind him and John Wright as well. There's been a change between the battle for 13th and Mick Wood's going to just edge out Stephen Gallagher. Oh boy. That one had just about everything. Hockenheim's one of those circuits, Liam Banks, that can either throw up as an instant classic or a dud. Tonight it was the former, and thank Christ it was.
Yeah, that's going to rival the GT4 race for entertainment. Of course, GT4 race, so many battles for the field, but the intensity of that battle at the front between Mitchum and Dench. There was a point there where Mitchum looked like a mosquito all over Dench. The car was flinging around from side to side. He was doing everything to get past him. They went side by side for 4 corners. For the first time I've seen Matty Dench under that sort of pressure, particularly on a pure out-and-out pace race. And it was spectacular defense from Dench that gave him the win. Whoever came out ahead in that battle, when they went side by side for 4 corners, was going to get the victory, and it was Matty Dench. But I'll tell you what, that will be his most satisfying victory of the season, just because he had to fight for it so hard. Look at this.
Magnificent stuff. One of the great fights in GT3. We've seen a few of them over the years, but that is about the most pressure you've ever seen Richard Mitchum throw on Matty Dench.
This was genius from Mitchum.
Oh, it was just brilliant racecraft from Dench, but it was good gamesmanship and good racecraft from Mitchum to go toe to toe with him and put him under the pump. And it was how Dench stood up to it and withstood the pressure that impressed me as well. Both of them, gold standard. We know Dench's record, but we know that Richard Mitchum, when we get on these European circuits, he just finds another gear. And right there, 0.68 of a second was all that separated first and second. Dench doesn't usually do tight margins, but he was forced to tonight. because he was pushed all the way by our favourite Singaporean-based Brit. Excellent stuff. Dave Riddell, Oscar Glissett, Glenn Arnott, Wayne Hewitt, Simon Cox, Robin Daniel Hill, then Alan Dawson, John Wright, Jonathan Hooper, Nick Wood back in 13th, just edging out Stephen Gallacher and Braden O'Loughlin. Then Shane Benici, David Johnson, and that's that, because no one else will be classified on that rostrum there. Unfortunately for Matty Broom, he needed to complete another 2 laps to be so. But, look, I'm out of breath, I'm out of voice, and it's only Monday night. And on that note, we will be back with you on a Thursday night this week, ladies and gentlemen. Temporary lapse in transmission last week caused by our Fifth World Internet Technology striking Grant Gill, the NBN dropout and all. Yeah, if that's what Monday night's serving up, I can't wait for Thursday night when we take you to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the Mazda MX-5s, as it was pointed out to me earlier in the piece. Then to Suzuka for the Porsches, and as long as we don't get a safety car there, we'll be right. So, geez, that was good fun. Really good stuff. Matty Dench edging out Richard Mitchum. Smallest winning margin of the season in GT3, I think I'm fairly confident in saying as well. What about Dave Riddell, though? The silent flyer, the unsung hero of the piece there as well, Liam, because he controlled the race so beautifully at the top end there, with the invert working to his favour, giving him pole position. He controlled that race until Richard Mitchum found a way by, and still, with all the drama that befell opponents around him, brought it home in 3rd place. And when you look at the rostrum and you think, oh, geez, it's only Matty Dench and Richard Mitchum ahead of him, that's a feather in his cap, and that's one that he will take with him and run with. He'll dine out on that for years, I reckon.
Oh, he absolutely will. He had the perfect race you want when you inherit the pole position as a result of a reverse grid top 10. Just clean, run your pace, try and hold the lead out front, hope the cars behind you battle, which they did. He didn't crack under pressure. He ran his own race, and he got the reward that he deserved with a podium in the feature race.
Right, let's launch into the post-race show, but not before we give a nod to the great people that support everything we do here on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And after what they dished out tonight, they being the competitors, ladies and gentlemen, these guys are certainly getting their value for money, and you can see why they're getting behind the product. So, of course, we thank Waste Options, the naming rights sponsor of both categories, and therefore Monday Night Motorsport. The great people at Blackout Electrical Solutions, who, of course, sponsor the Porsche Cup on a Thursday night. Login Systems sponsoring the GT3 Endurance Championship, which is back this Sunday. West Orange Motors, hello Dave May. Looking forward to seeing you back on grid very shortly. Astute Finance, Fisher & Door Lawyers, and Flash Graphics. Righto, Denchi, get in here. How did you bloody do it this time?
Well, I tried to throw it away in qualifying in the first race. I was on Fuel Map 2. I didn't notice until about halfway through the first race when I was scratching my head thinking, like, why are they so fast in the straight?
Now, this is rare that you make a mistake. So, this might explain also why you were 4th on the grid. Is that right?
Yeah, so during practice, like, I could have laid down like a 37.5, 37.4, but then in qualifying, just didn't have the pace, and I must have bumped that rotary and turned the fuel map on.
All right, and then obviously you were able to turn it around. Brock Kelly's demise certainly worked in your favour by the sounds of it. We didn't see race 1. We were obviously covering the opening race of the GT3 AM split tonight, and then we came across and covered race 2 of GT3 Pro. But we saw that Brock Kelly from pole position ended up finishing 4 laps short of the checkered flag, so his demise probably worked in your favour.
Yeah, he had a bit of an incident with, I think it was with Richard Mitchum going into the hairpins. I'm not sure if he picked up damage and he just called it quits, or, not too sure.
Not too sure either. Apologies for the phone. It's supposed to be on silent, ladies and gentlemen, but it still likes to play media at full tilt. Creeping into the microphone, FX there a few moments ago. Hey, Denchi, very nicely done for you to get that job done in race 1, but we knew that, like Zenvort, it wasn't going to be straightforward from 10th on the grid. You bided your time, you waited for your moments, you took the invitations presented to you, but then the question has to be asked, did you sell yourself short on fuel in that pit stop, or did Richard Mitchum just have a bit more pace tonight, and therefore he was able to stick it to you in what was one of the great scraps we've ever seen?
Yeah, so I just sort of took the passes as they sort of presented themselves, and then at the pit stop I thought I put enough fuel in, but it was a little bit short, and I did try to hold the gap on Richard straight out the pit, but yeah, we needed to save probably nearly a whole litre, so yeah, we just had to try and defend and keep him behind us.
And we got a terrific insight into just how good your racecraft is, mate, because not often do we see you under that much pressure at the top end of town. So for everything that you bring to the table in terms of straight out pace and straight out attack, you've got the arsenal in defence as well. That was terrific, but he almost had you there at one point.
Yeah, most definitely. It was quite a bit of pressure. I'm not really used to the pressure from behind, so yeah, it was pretty quick loading, trying to still save fuel but try and keep him behind. It was really good fun.
And barely a panel rub between you as well. One small moment down at the hairpin here, but other than that, some of the cleanest and best racing we've ever seen.
Yeah, I ran a little bit deep on the inside there, and just missed the apex by a country mile, and yeah, we just sort of rubbed panels. He snuck in behind me there.
Oh dear. I guess in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the fact that you've transitioned from the Audi to the Lambo for this season, the Lambo's not missing a beat, mate.
Yeah, well, they both share the same chassis, and both mid-engine cars, so they handle very similar. So yeah, it's pretty easy transition.
Yeah, but at the same time, Denchi, yes, it might be an easy transition, but iRacing isn't always as straightforward as that, as you know, because occasionally you got to get the BOP updates out the road, and you know the Audi and the Lambo might end up being worlds apart, despite being the same chassis.
Yeah, I think the Lambo kind of struggles around here. It was quite slow compared to the other cars on going down that big straightaway. So yeah, but through the corners, it was really nice.
Stay with us, Denchi. Coming back to you in a moment. William Banks, if you've got any questions to throw at these guys, go your hardest in a second. I just want to bring Richard Mitchum into the conversation. Before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, it's 5 minutes to 10 Eastern time. It's Monday Night Motorsport. We've had an absolute ball of a time at the Hockenheim Ring in Germany, backing up what we saw at Laguna Seca in Waste Options GT4. Monday Night Motorsport has delivered a classic this time round. Richard, well done, mate. Nice performance. Race one clearly not the best. We're actually sorry, Adam. Which one are we watching? Are we watching just race 2 at the moment?
Yeah, I can't because we weren't here for race 1. I couldn't show you below it.
That's what I thought. So I'm just looking because I got thrown out by the leaderboard last week. So 4th to 2nd, only missing out on Denchi by the narrowest of margins. But obviously 4th on the grid meant that you were 7th at the finish line in race 1. So for those of us that didn't see race 1, just paint us the picture as to how all that played out, and then we'll get to race 2.
Yeah, it's a bit of a night of what could have been. I think we had decent pace tonight. So yeah,
absolutely, you did. You had the fastest up the race in the second race.
Yeah, well, I think the second race was I took tyres at the pit stop, so that's what. So I think that's what gave Denchi the jump and me the pace advantage. Because as we all know, on all equal, I'm not going to be outpacing Denchi by 2 or 3 tenths a lap. But yeah, first race I got from 4th through to 2nd, and Brock was pretty robust with his defensive moves and didn't give me any room, so I ended up spinning out under the braking zone into the hairpin after he closed the door on the outside with me, and yeah, that we'd also had a bit of panel rubbing earlier on with the 4X, and some off tracks meant I also had to have a drive through. So it was a combination of a spin into the hairpin and a drive through as well. So I thought, fortunately, the the grid was actually quite spread out. So seventh was a bit fortunate, to be honest with you.
Well, that's very true. But you were also, I guess, lucky that the grid was considerably small tonight, given our usual standards, given also what we saw in GT4 earlier in the evening. There's something to be said about Hockenheim and the aggressive type of or the aggressive nature of the racing that we get here, mates. Because it's not like you to rack up A, incidents, and B, a drive-through penalty. So there's something about the level of aggression at this circuit, and it continues to be a talking point every time we come here.
I don't know. Race 2 was pretty clean. Yeah. I think obviously
in race
got
one.
a couple of big braking zones as well, hey. So I think it does, and I think there's a bit of different car performance between each car as well. I think, especially with the latest ABS updates, I think depending on how you run your brakes, it can make a massive difference on both kind of tyre heat up, but also braking distances. So I think there's a big difference in braking distances. That's what I was struggling a bit with Denchi. It makes sense now that he was fuel saving, because I couldn't get a consistent read on his braking points. It makes sense that whenever he had a bit of a bigger gap, he was making the most of it and lifting off. So I think that it meant that I was kind of going for a lot of half moves, because he'd brake early or let off early, but then let off the brakes. So fair play to him. I think with the tyre advantage and not having to save fuel, I should have got the move done. But no, it was good clean race in race 2.
100%. We'll focus on this a little bit longer, because it sounds as though if you try and read too much into what sort of games he's playing, be it the braking marker or strategy or whatever else, sounds like the brain might hurt by the end of the night.
Yeah. No, I think a bit disappointed I didn't get the move done, but it was good clean racing. I think I always know when I'm over here in Singapore, I've got to give everyone a bit of a wide berth, because the netcode gods don't live in Singapore, I don't think. So but it was good. It was good. I think overall some decent racing.
I was going to say you were a little bit disappointed that you couldn't get the job done there to get past him, but by gee, you threw everything at it. You couldn't have thrown any more at him if you possibly tried. Yeah,
I made a little mistake going into turn 2 with about 3 laps to go, which gave 5-6 tenths, and I think he just strung together some. By that point, I think my tyres got pretty hot and the advantage had diminished a little bit, so I couldn't quite get back. I think without that, maybe a bit more pressure, I could have got the job done.
Yeah, we weren't surprised in the slightest to see you right there, mate, because we know how much you love these European tracks once we get to them.
Yeah, I think like Denchi said, I think I didn't do any officials this week. I was doing a house move, so it's kind of did get some laps in practice beforehand. But I looked at the officials, and I think the Porsche's been the car to be in this week. So I think it definitely had a car advantage over the Lambo and over a few of the others this week. So I think it was a bit more that than me necessarily loving this track. I think it's okay, but and it does, like you said, provides interesting racing, especially for a sprint event. There's plenty of chances to get some moves done.
And we also knew that Denchi was up to his usual tricks with regards to a little bit of fuel saving. Not necessarily in the closing stages of the race, but the fact that he went a lap longer than everybody else on that opening stint.
I don't think he massively underfueled, because, well, I must have done to gain the time, but I had an extra lap of fuel in. It was the tyres were going off. I think that was the limiting factor for me. Longer you ran, the tyres just kept getting hotter and hotter. So I deliberately pitted a bit early, or a lap early, because just to get the fresher tyres for a little bit longer. So I don't think, massively saved a lot, but I think obviously went a bit shorter. I didn't cut the fuel fine because I knew to get 2 tyres switched, I knew the fuel number that it took as well. So the tyres took a little bit longer anyway. You might as well put the extra couple of litres of fuel in so you're not cutting it fine.
So how many tyres did you take exactly, just for clarification?
Just left-hand sides.
Okay. Did you take any rubber whilst you were on pit road, Denchi?
Oh, I did not.
A point of difference, righto. Interesting, because it's one of those things, isn't it? Especially in sprint races, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because there's always a little bit of an invoice to pay, as Richard has highlighted there. And how? So you said you had to save the equivalent of a litre, Denchi. So what does that equate to in terms of pit stop time? How much time did you save on the lane by underfueling per se?
I don't think I particularly underfueled. It was just I tried to push a little bit harder after the pit stop, and before the pit stop, I didn't really get a fast lap in to compare it to, so I was just sort of trying to wing it.
Very rare that we hear you using the words "wing it" with regards to your strategy play, but I guess these sprint races, they're always interesting for you, aren't they? Because we know that you've had your fair share of fame and fortune, but also failure with these ones as well. And it's hard because, as you say, until you could get clear air, you didn't get a real good gauge as to where the outright lap speed was. So it's interesting that you're saying that, but you were still able to overcome it.
Yeah, I've found if you just try to be a lot more patient in these first top 10s, and just try to pick off positions where you can, and while you're behind people, just try and save a bunch of fuel. Seems to work out quite well.
Patience. Jeez, I didn't realise we had any of that. I certainly don't, but then again, I'm not out there racing. That being said, we've got Simon Cox joining us now as well, boys. So let's just bring Coxie in for a chat. Hey, Simon, well done. Race 1 went beautifully, obviously. You were second home behind M. Dench, familiar territory for anybody, because we used to be him being numero uno. But in saying that, you collided the wall there momentarily in race 2, so that did cost you some time, but you still brought it home in 7th, mate. So let's get your take of the second race particularly, and just whether or not you were compromised, hamstrung in any way, shape or form after the cladding the concrete.
Actually, surprisingly, the pit lane entry is not there. It looked like I was going in for a late dash. I was just pushing too hard. Just like as Denchi said, I just wasn't patient, and I was just trying to catch too quickly. I should have just let it roll on by. So I was just pushing through that corner, but my left side tyres were really bad. So I probably should have done what Richard did, and put some new boots on. But it was a good race. It was good to see. I got the 2 boys back, so Rob came in 8th and Daniel came in 9th. So it was. We're all grid buddies there at the end. But yeah, it was a really good race.
They had a terrific run, actually. We'll come back to them. Keep going.
Yeah, I just struggled at the end with tyres and that sort of. But luckily enough, I didn't get any damage from the little tap of the wall, which was good. So I managed to claw back a couple of positions. And race 1, I thought it was really good. I think Denchi was sort of playing nice for a little while and saving a bit of tyres, and ended up getting me and sort of drove away in the end. But it was a good race.
I'll come back to you in a moment, Coxie. Richard, just to come back to you here, the tyre strat thing, the way in which iRacing's reinvented the wheel here with its recent updates and its recent tyre modelling, it's somewhat changed the game in GT3 racing, whether it be the short, sharp, jabby like sprint races or those 60-minute races, in terms of, because normally once upon a time we'd sit here and run a 2-hour race and you wouldn't touch the tyres once. But it's certainly spiced things up from a strategic standpoint now that you've got that option if you want to take it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I didn't take any last week, and I know some people on the broadcast were saying that they were were killing their front left and they were taking it. So it planted a seed when it came into this week, and we were looking at high temps and lap time drop-offs, and they've kind of fixed. I think in the past, if you look to do lefts or fronts or rears, the car can act really, really funny. When you've got two worn but warm tyres and two fresh cold tyres, it does some really strange things. But they must have fixed that over the last couple of years, because it feels pretty good after the first couple of corners. I was straight quicker, so after tested it in practice, and it was a bit of a no-brainer going into that second race.
Simon, just coming back to you for a moment there, mate. Let's talk about Rob and Daniel being 8th and 9th. Geez, they had their work cut out for them in that second race. They had to work hard for it, but I mean, Rob down 3 spots from 5th on the grid after finishing 6th in the opening race, which was a good showing. But the promising result there was Daniel actually moving his way from outside the top 10 to inside the top 10.
Yeah, it's really good to see Daniel back. He hasn't, I don't think he's driven for the last sort of month or something like that. So it was, unfortunately, he had a internet disconnection in warm-up. And we thought, oh no, don't tell me he's not going to be able to race. But his internet was solid for the races, which was great. And yeah, really, they said after the race that I think Rob was saying he's never sweated so much, and Daniel was sort of saying, thank God that race was over, because he had a lot of pressure on him. So it was really good to see the boys getting up there and having a good result.
Very nicely done. Let's continue on here. We'll have some championship points for everybody in just a few moments. But before I go on, Banksy, anything you want to throw at these guys?
I think you've done a really good job of covering everything with them already.
Okay, in that case, then we'll move on. I was hoping I might have left something out, Banksy, and give you an opportunity to, flex the vocal cords. But anyway,
no, credit where credit's done. You've done a good job with these guys tonight.
All right.
Yeah, I just like to say, congratulations to Matt and Richard for the night and really good racing, and thanks for the broadcast.
You are always welcome, mate. You are always welcome. And we hope you enjoyed the replay when you tuned it, except for obviously that moment at the entry to pit lane there. Let's have a look at what's coming our way, boys, as far as the rest of this schedule is concerned, because by gee, there's some good racing ahead. I'll start with you, Simon, because we haven't spoken a terrible amount to you here. Next stop, Watkins Glen, the boot circuit. Then the last sprint round of the season back in Germany, but over at the Nürburgring. So let's get your thoughts on them.
I love Watkins Glen. Really looking forward to that race. Yeah, really, sort of races well, that track. And actually all the races all coming up are actually really good tracks to race at. Hopefully all the cars will be around the same pace. Like I know the Porsches were really good this week around Hockenheim. But yeah, I think Watkins Glen should be a good one. And then I think there's the long enduro at Red Bull Ring, which would be really good, and that will be a track to really watch the off tracks, because it's so easy to rack them up there and probably end up with a drive-through or something like that. So yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yep, absolutely. Clearly no comment from Matty Dench, because he's just seen himself out for the night. So we won't get any insight from him with regards to Watkins Glen. But what we should be now worried about, Richard Mitchum, is the way in which he's extended his championship lead again tonight, because it could very well mean that when we get to the Red Bull Ring, she's a dead rubber.
Dead rubber.
Best of the rest was, or is what you play for when Denchi turns up to these championships, to be honest with you. Unless he's got some more bad fortune. There's races like tonight where I think obviously he didn't quite have the pace advantage that he normally has. You need to take advantage, and if you're not doing that, if people are not doing that there, then there's really no chance, because there's some weeks you turn up and he's away in the distance and there's no catching. So yeah, I think it's battle for second again for me this season.
Yeah. Simon, I think we had you in there over, like you and Richard were talking over the top of one another there for a moment. So what were you going to say with regards to what I said about Denchi?
Next.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Pass. Oh no. That being said, Richard, we'll stay with you. We'll come back to Coxie in a moment if he thinks of what he was saying. The Watkins Glen circuit, a tough one to master, but a real horsepower heaven sort of circuit. There's a lot of open, free-flowing, fast stuff there, and a couple of tight corners to keep everybody on their measure, and a circuit that really punishes you if you slip up.
Yeah, I like the track. I haven't been there for a while, actually. I think the last few times I've been there hasn't been GT3s, so it'll be good. I'm sure. I'm not sure it's necessarily going to be a Porsche track, but put some laps in. I think it'll be good. Done plenty of laps on Nürburgring recently, and the WEC circuits, that's the one with the fast chicane, isn't it? Rather than the Mickey Mouse GP circuit chicane, which I prefer as well. So that should be good.
Yeah. Hey, just quickly, sorry, I'm just going to jump in here, Richard. Adam, are we still going out via Twitch or YouTube? Because I've got no live feed on Facebook at the moment. Okay,
Facebook
copy that.
might have crashed earlier. I got to get a little notification. I wasn't sure if I got back or not.
All right, copy that. Yeah, because I hadn't been following along with the live comments and whatnot, and as I was just refreshing the page, it said GSRC was live. I was like, oh, hang on. Don't tell me we've been talking to no one, but clearly no, we are still talking to Simon Cox and Richard Mitchum and Liam Banks, so that's a good thing. Richard, as we were saying, we're talking about Watkins Glen, but then the Nürburgring, so a totally different circuit again.
Yep, we just had 24-hour there.
Yeah, you'd get busy after that, wouldn't you?
So yeah, done plenty of turns around there, albeit in a BMW, but should be good. I don't mind that track at all. And then try and damage limitation around Bathurst, and then see where we're at for the Red Bull Ring.
All right, so let's. How are we with championship points, Adam? And we probably should have a look at the second race results from the AM split as well at this point of the broadcast. Stay with me there, guys. Richard Mitchum and Simon Cox. Adam?
Split points, but I can show you the results in a second.
Yeah, copy that. Thank you. We're slowly but surely winding our way towards the checkered flag of our post-race show here, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us. Monday Night Motorsport with thanks to Waste Options on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And we will have some championship points coming your way in just a few moments' time. Just recapping earlier in the evening, an enthralling, captivating, compelling round of the Waste Options GT4 Championship, won by Luke Turner eventually, but Jordan Malcolm snatched defeat from the jaws of victory on the very last lap and limped home in third place. Nick Wood, the leader of the championship there, despite not having won a race yet, 276 points plays. Jordan Malcolm, 266. Jared Knight, 258, I should say. Sam Muir, 243. And Michael Hammond, 222 points after 6 rounds. Simon, let's, before I have a look at the championship standings, obviously Adam will get those to us in just a moment, but what are you hoping to achieve here in the closing stages of this season, given that Denchi's lead now has ballooned out to 3 figures, 3 digits, it's over 100 points. What are you hoping to achieve in this battle for second? You've got that by the skin of your teeth at the moment, according to the numbers that I'm seeing here, and we'll have them up on screen in a minute, with Wayne Hewitt and Richard Mitchum in close tow. You can't afford to put a foot wrong in the next 4 weeks, though.
No, it's going to be a very tight little battle there. So hopefully, hopefully we get a second. I don't really want to give away a second, but we'll respect each other on track and have some good, hard, clean racing, and hopefully the it all goes nice and fair, and we'll see how we go. I think obviously the lead that Denchi's got sort of unattainable at the moment. So as Richard said, it's sort of battle for the rest.
not going to lie, I am looking forward to when we get to the Red Bull Ring to put a full stop on this season, because the 2-week break ties in nicely with the cricket, the Ashes in England. So I'll be able to sit back and enjoy that. But we mentioned Bathurst being the penultimate round. And Richard mentioning the importance of damage control there, and given what you just said with regards to the championship fight, I'm sure you're looking at it the same way.
Exactly. I actually can't stand the track. I like it for a lap dash track, but I really don't like racing on it. It's just sort of, people can lose it in front of you. You don't really know that there's a big incident in front of you, and you can end up with a very damaged car with no fault of your own, things like that.
Exactly. So many trigger points and trouble points on that circuit. 3 different manufacturers fighting for second and third in the championship at the moment. Mercedes, Lamborghini and Porsche. Again, I guess Liam Banks highlights, the quality of the drivers that are behind the wheel of those cars in the first instance, but also secondly, just how good the manufacturer diversity is in GT3.
Yeah, it really does. I think you could see in the battle lead between Richard Mitchum and Matty Dench that the cars were very fast in different areas of the corner. Like, so often you'd see it looked like Richard Mitchum was closing in on the entry to the corner, and then Denji would pull away, and you could just see from the onboards the different characteristics of the car, like, so clear, because both drivers were so near the limit that you could really tell what the limitations of the car was. And I know we Richard Mitchum had the new tyres, and he had wasn't fuel saving, so he could push it a little bit more than Matty Dench could. But I really think you could see that, and that was like one of my favourite things to see from the onboards, was just how different the cars looked going into the corners.
Very nicely done. We'll have some graphics and stuff on screen for you in just a few moments as soon as Adam Lavis is ready, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll let these two guys go. Ben Woods, nice recovery mission from him to win the feature race in the AM split, ahead of David Christensen and Reece Dickerson. Tim Fuge, Chup Fung Wong, Brian Bullock from outside the top 10 got inside the top 10. Matt Schmidtke, Adam Chiplin, good recovery, and Adam Holland, William Yarwood made up the top 10 there. Just have a look at the margins. Top 10 covered by 23 seconds in the end there, and a couple of good battles evolving towards the checkered flag there, particularly that battle between Bullock and Schmidtke. There was only 0.8 of a second between them, and 0.5 of a second between Chiplin and Holland as well. So well done to Ben Woods on his win in the second race there. Those guys only got to 22 laps, so that leads me to think that there might have been a safety car somewhere along the way there as well, based on the time certainty factor. Let's have a look at some championship points, if we may.
No safety car, just their pace has been low.
Oh, okay, copy that. So no safety car at all. That's somewhat disappointing, actually. It just means they're a little bit slow, and therefore they didn't get their value for money. All right, let's have a look at some other facts and stats here before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Matty Dench now 103 points clear. He's got a round on the competition, ahead of Simon Cox on 292. 5 different teams in the top 5. Just let that sink in for a moment, with Wayne Hewitt third, 286. And as I say, only stone's throw away from Simon. 264 for Richard Mitchum, right there in the thick of it. Nick Wood just a little bit too far back at the moment on 221. 218 for Shane Clancy, though, so he's got to be mindful of Shane's presence. But he did not race tonight, did Shane. Matt Stewart was an on-starter in the second race, 171. 169 for Oscar Gossett, 159 for Glenn Arnott, and 150 for Daniel Birchnell makes up the top 10. Ferrari, BMW, Lamborghini, Mercedes, and Porsche in the top 10 at the moment. 3 Lambos, 3 BMWs, a Ferrari, Porsche, and 2 Mercs. So a good spread of different manufacturers in the top 10 at the moment. The Audi of John Wright has dropped out of the picture there. There was an Audi actually. There was an Audi in the top 10 in the AM split. That's right. So 5 different manufacturers in the top 10 here in Waste Options GT3 Pro. Let's have a look at the Not yet? Okay, not ready yet. The end split.
Just doing the last race now.
Copy that, Adam. Thank you. We'll get it to you before we leave here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Cox, what else is on for you this week, please, as far as sim racing is concerned?
We're probably starting to work out a little bit of a setup for Watkins Glen. So
okay,
we'll see what we do. We might even do some officials this week. I don't tend to do a lot of officials, for obvious reasons. But might actually do some and get some race practice in for it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? We talk all the time. There are some guys that can, rock up, no practice under their belt, 1 hour of practice under their belt, hit the ground running. But by the sounds of it, race trim's going to be and race prep's going to be key to you for this week. And Watkins Glen totally different to Hockenheim, as we were saying with Richard there earlier. When you go racing around Watkins Glen, it's so fast paced. It's high horsepower. It's a tough slog, and it's not a sprint around this time round that we go to Watkins Glen. So you're not going to have a chance to catch your breath for a couple of minutes between races. This is a full-on 60-minute slog.
Yeah, I'd rather the longer races. I find that they sort of race a little bit better. It has been rescanned, Watkins Glen, so
yes.
The last time I drove around there was in an LMP2, so it's a little bit different at turn 1. The bus stop's a little bit different, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who gets the better of the tricks of the trade there, gets their head around those slight little amendments that you're talking about.
And it should be quite balanced on tyres as well. You might wear the lefts a little bit more, but it should be fairly even with tyre wear, so that'll be good.
Absolutely. No, we're very much looking forward to the Glen. Guys, I'm going to let you go at this point in time because obviously we're now just filling until we're ready to show everybody the AM results, and I can shoot the breeze with Liam and look ahead to a couple of other things that we've got to broadcast or that we've got coming our way, or we've got to tick the box for before we sign off here. But anything else you want to say before we let you go, Simon Cox, Richard Mitchum?
Nope. Apart from thank you, GSRC and Waste Options and all the other sponsors. It's been a really good season so far.
It certainly has been. Good on you, Coxie. Thanks for that, mate. Well done tonight. Richard?
Likewise, mate. Appreciate your efforts as always putting this on, and thanks to the rest of the Twitchfoot team who helped with that strategy, and our sponsors as well. So thanks, and we'll see you next week.
Between you and Denchi in race 2 and the entire GT4 field, Richard, I'm going to be reaching for the Strepsils as soon as we're done here. Thanks for the entertainment, mate. Very nicely done. Have a good night, guys.
Yes.
Banksy, one of the best Monday nights we've had for a while. Every race delivered something different. Every race delivered entertainment. GT4 delivered such a climatic, dramatic conclusion. And GT3, some of the best action between Richard and Denchi. We now know why. We got an insight into that post-fact, but just top-shelf quality from first until last tonight. It was terrific.
It really was quality. It was a good word to use because in the GT4 race, 40 cars, I think 30 cars got through and finished on the lead lap, which showed there weren't too many cars that had an absolute mare or had horrible incidents. Whilst we did see a few spins and stuff, generally people were able to carry on. And then in the GT3, it was a similar story. The field was pretty close in pace. We had a battle at the front. We had battles down for third, fourth, fifth. We had battles at the back of the top 10. And really good high quality battles with people doing up and unders, some audacious moves. Not too many battles that were decided just by people coming unstuck and having a crash, which was really, really nice to see.
Absolutely was. And obviously, just as we wait for Adam here, when we look ahead, we've got a lot to be excited about Thursday night. Suzuka, again, one of those circuits. It'll either deliver a classic, a cracker, It'll deliver a bomb, a tanker. We'll wait and see when we get there Thursday night with the Porsches, but excited to be back bringing everybody that after missing out last week due to tech issues at Grants End. And the production cars around Motorsport. Motorsport's one of those circuits, and particularly for a car like the MX-5 or the Formula V, and yes, we'll read those points out in full in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of those circuits that always delivers.
Yeah, it's a track I only discovered recently, and it's so unique in the way all of its corners seem to string together, and it generates beautiful side-by-side racing in the particularly in the lower powered cars. Like the skippies are phenomenal around there, and I haven't seen MX-5s around most spots, but that stands out as being potentially a fantastic combination. And the Porsche Cup at Suzuka should be phenomenal. It's such a good racing circuit. And
are you having a run?
No, I won't be having a run.
Okay, copy that. Wasn't sure if we'd see you making another cameo appearance in the Porsches, but no, all is good there, mate. Stand by. Yes?
I love to, but things are getting in the way at the moment.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Reese Dickerson, 351, plays Chukwang Wong 283 in the GT3 AM series at the moment. So that margin is now 68 points. Matt Schmidtke on 265, Adam Lee Holland 253, and Adam Chiplin 241. So Reese Dickerson has potentially one hand on that title, depending upon what happens when drop rounds come into effect at the end of next week, of course. But he is hitting all his markers and ticking all the boxes at the moment and doing what he needs to do to keep his nose clean and stay atop of the tree with a little bit of a buffer to play with. Adam Lee Holland's within striking distance of Matt Schmidtke. It could be a Ferrari 1-2-3 there in no time. Adam Chiplin 241 would have something to say about that as well. William Yarwood's a fair way back on 193, just ahead of Tim Watson and also Tim Fuge. Look at that. 6 points covers 6th, 7th and 8th. William Yarwood, Tim Watson, Tim Fuge, and 3 different manufacturers as well. Greg Heaney in the Ford in 9th on 183, so it's 10 points separating 6th and 9th, and 12 separating 6th and 10th when you throw Brian Bullock into the equation there as well. Rounds out the top 10. BMW, Ford, Audi, Porsche, Ferrari, all in the top 10 at the moment. In waste options, GT3 and 4 Ferraris, 3 Bimmers, and then, of course, 1 each for the Porsche, the Audi, and the Ford. So 5 manufacturers in the top 10 in both the 2 splits, but obviously the breakdown of those manufacturers varies slightly because you've got the Ford and an Audi in the top 10 here, and over in the other splits, it's the Merc and the Lamborghini doing the damage. There's the team's championship standings at the moment. The bragging rights. Reese Dickerson and Adam Lee Holland hold sway at the moment and well clear of Richard Mitchum and Glenn Arnott. Matty Dench on his own is sitting third. That's not really a surprise. Wayne Hewitt and Alan Holgerson, who we haven't seen for a little while, 388. Twitchy Foot, Adam Chiplin, Neil Gladwin, and then, of course, the other Twitchy Foot of Nick Wood and Daniel Birchnell. Quick, Christ, how big's the Twitchy Foot team? There's 4 teams in there. There's 6 teams in Twitchy Foot Racing, and there's 4 of them in the top 16 there. 7 teams. Jesus. That's marvellous. Twitchy Foot, one of the big... See, this is one of the great stories, Liam. We've been following it for a while. Just how big some of these teams have become. Because, you know, the world is your oyster in sim racing. You can have just about as many as you like. You can lock out a full pit lane of teammates. Not so in the real world. That's one of the real only, you know, minor discrepancies between... real world racing and sim racing. Speaking of real world racing, rumours doing the rounds today that A1 Grand Prix could be on the horizon for a return some 14 years later. A couple of different people working on that in the background, so keep an eye on that if you like your open wheel international Olympic type motorsport. So yeah, that's just about us for a Thursday, for a Monday night, and we're looking forward to Thursday night immensely here. Yeah, Twitchy Foot. Geez, 7 teams in that points table for teams bragging rights alone, and it's an AM split car holding sway at the top end of town right now. Banksy, thanks for your efforts tonight. Who do you give driver of the night to?
I think I'm going to give driver of the night to, and I'm just going to make sure I get it, Richard Mitchum for that phenomenal attack on Matty Dench at the end. And we expect utter class from Matty Dench. So to come within a hair's breadth of taking the victory from him and doing it on track is a phenomenal effort.
Absolutely, it is. Right, thanks, mate. Well done. We did a little bit of overtime there in the end, but at the end of 3 hours, we can take the rest of the night off. I'll see you same time next week.
See you next week.
There he is, Liam Banks, and good luck with the call on Sunday as well, the GT3 Endurance Championship, the penultimate round from Road Atlanta. Let's have a look at what's coming your way on that note on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. But on the way out, let's thank our sponsors once more, because without them, none of this happens, and none of you get scintillating entertainment on a Monday or a Thursday night here on the platforms of the GSRC. And as I said earlier in the piece, if you're not impressed by what you saw tonight, then you're very, very difficult to please. Waste Options, we couldn't do Monday Night Motorsport without them. Also, of course, our great friends at Blackout Electrical Solutions and Login Systems. Also, the great people at West Orange Motors. Good on you, Dave May. And, of course, Astute Insurance, Finance and Wealth in East Brisbane. Fisher and Door Lawyers. And also, of course, Flash Graphics. Good on you, John Simpson. Right. Let's have a look at what comes your way on the platforms of the GSRC starting tomorrow night. We're back on broadcast on Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. All being fair and equal at Grant Gill's end. We've got our fingers crossed. I haven't heard from Grant since Thursday, so I'm hoping the internet has come good. If not, we could be up the creek without a paddle once more. GSRC up and comers tomorrow night. Good setup that. Toyota 86s, Charlotte Roval. And they get underway at 7:55 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday night, the Formula Fords are heading to Magny-Cours in France for 3 sprint races there from 7:30, followed by the supercars from the Hockenheimring Grand Prix circuit from 8:45 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So they're here on Wednesday night for 2 sprint races. Thursday night, the Production Car Challenge into the MX-5s from Motorsport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We're with you from 7:30 Eastern Standard Time for that one, 2 sprint races there. Then at 8:45 from the Suzuka International Racing Course in Japan, a 40-minute sprint race for the Porsche Cup with thanks to Blackout Electrical Solutions. Friday night, the USF 2000s and the Wings and Slicks. They will take you to Worldwide Technology Raceway to Gateway, so an oval race there for 2 sprint races from 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Very nice addition to the little graphic there, Adam Lavis. Saturday, Bathurst Legends in the Legend 34 Coupes. The Mountain Men Series continues. 32 laps. Good luck to all and sundry that are participating in that. Sunday, of course, the 4th round of the GSRC GT3 Endurance Championship from 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, a 4-hour race there. And, of course, that is proudly brought to you by the great people at Login Systems, penultimate one of the semester. Remember, of course, we get 2 regular seasons in the first half of the year, 20 weeks worth of racing, term 1, term 2. But across the semester, which incorporates or combines both terms, you get 5 rounds of GSRC GT3 Endurance Championship action for good measure. Monday night, back with you on the GT front and the GT theme with Waste Options GT4 from the Detroit Grand Prix Belle Isle circuit in downtown Michigan. And then, of course, that's at 7:35 Australian Eastern Standard Time. We'll be with you from 7:30, and it's immediately followed by a trip across to upstate New York and to the Watkins Glen Grand Prix configuration that they used to use for the IndyCar, the boot layout, and that's from 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and that'll be the penultimate 60-minute race of the season for you, and from there we'll have sprint, 60-minute and 90-minute races to finish the season, rounds 8, 9 and 10 respectively. All those times Australian Eastern Standard Time, but again, check your local guides. GSRCmerch.myshopify.com if you want to get your hands on any of the great merch available in our merch store. Especially this time of year, the hoodies would come in very handy and comforting, I'm sure. But there's stubby holders, there's bottle openers, there's T-shirts, there's, you name it. They've got it there in the merch store, and that's available online right now. And we had a couple of people over the course of the weekend singing the praises of how speedy the response was and the delivery too. Sunday, we've already mentioned it, but it's worth another mention. Penultimate round, we've already ticked off Coda, Zandvoort and the Red Bull Ring off to Road Atlanta on that Sunday, on what is the start of a very big weekend or very big day of World Motorsport You can warm up for the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indianapolis 500, and the Coke 600 with 4 hours of GSRC GT3 Endurance Championship action with thanks to login systems. And that one will be coming your way from Road Atlanta. Liam Banks and Sam Chapman have the call for you, and we're looking forward to that immensely. Then the grand finale from Bathurst on Sunday, June 25. That's it from us. We're done. Monday Night Motorsport in the can for week 6 of term 2. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride. Entertainment Plus, Luke Turner, too good in the GT4 race, at the demise, at the despair, at the dead set, fair income, bad luck of Jordan Malcolm, who was looking good for his 3rd win of the season. Instead, we have 5 different winners in 6 races there. It has been top shelf entertainment thus far in GT4. And then, of course, we had 2 different winners in GT3 AM, and Matty Dench doing what Matty Dench does eventually in Waste Options GT3 Pro. On behalf of Liam Banks, Adam Lavis, and the entire GSRC broadcast, commentary and production team here, hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to your company again on Thursday night when, touch wood, fingers crossed, internet gods are on Grant Gill's side and we can bring you some MX-5 racing from Motorsport, and then, of course, on to Suzuka for the Porsches in a continent-hopping edition of Thursday Night Motorsport. Until then, I'm Zach Cabin. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye for now.